What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm your host and showrunner for today, Simon Villanos, aka Coach V, and we bring you another NAIA Women's Flag Football recap. Week 7 already, as the regular season is flying by, but still some pretty important matchups this last weekend here, which we're going to talk about. We're going to recap. We're also going to talk about Playmaker of the Week and all those candidates, power rankings, as there's a little bit of movement here, and then go ahead and wrap it up. But like I said, a good amount of games this weekend, so let's go ahead and hop into it. Starting with Monday, March 25th, a rare Monday game here. We have, and this is according to our power rankings, of course, number 19, Graceland, taking on number 17, the University of St. Mary in Kansas for this one here. Two younger programs here. Obviously, Graceland, I believe this would be either their first or second NAIA game here. And then for St. Mary, obviously, they are very well into the season, but still a very young squad for the most part. But to start out, the University of St. Mary, the Spires, they get the ball here. And let's fast forward to third down. Cheyenne Brooks, the freshman from Georgia at quarterback, throws a nice post route on the money to Sade Irvin, aka Turbo, for the first down here, making it 1st and 15. A small gain of about 12 or so. Following that, let's go skip a play here to 2nd and 15 here. Cheyenne Brooks goes over the middle to Talia Wright, freshman to freshman here, who back jukes and then reverses fields for a big gain here, making it 1st and 15, a gain of about 20 past midfield. Couple plays later, it's third down once more, and Brooks drops back, gets a snap, throws a beautiful pass deep down the left sideline to Trinity Scott, who just burns the DB here and walks it in untouched to put the University of St. Mary up 6-0 with 6:50 left in this one. Now, interesting enough here, the Spires go for 2. I believe this isn't just for this game. This is kind of a part of their philosophy now, but going for 2, Brooks gets a snap, rolls right, and eventually finds someone over the middle, and it's Sade Irvin, who makes it 8-0 here. Now, Graceland take over with about 6:50 left here. I believe this was my first time watching them in full, not in person, but like over stream. And so at number 1 is their quarterback, Shyla Barrios, who goes ahead and gets the snap and throws it, but unfortunately this one is dropped. On 2nd down, Barrios decides to scramble, but she is stopped just short of the first down for a gain of about maybe 2, so now it's 3rd and 4 here. On 3rd down, Barrios under a lot of pressure as St. Mary sends 2 and throws it short to number 11 here. That would be, just let me make sure, Kylie Dixon on the catch. But that actually goes for a loss. She had to readjust to that one, and so she is pulled pretty quickly. Great defense by the Spires, and so Graceland goes 3 and out. Now, the Spires, they take over past midfield here. Not the greatest putt, but it's a 1st and 7 as they approach the red zone with 4:17 left. After a drop on 1st, on 2nd, Brooks gets the snap, rolls right, and throws it up to Sade Irvin, who just mosses the DB and then walks it in to give them an early 14-0 lead on the 27-yard touchdown. Turbo getting it started early here. The Spires would go for 2 again here. Brooks would try to dance around and find somebody, just like she did on that last attempt, but eventually she would be sacked, and so the Spires would have to settle for a 14-0 lead. Now, Graceland, they go ahead and take over for their second drive here after a high snap that is obviously dropped here. It's now 2nd and 12, and here's what happens. They go ahead and run the power option left here. Shyla Barrios at quarterback, Kivia Pettis, I want to say, at running back, and Barrios goes ahead and pitches it out to Pettis, who gets a pretty solid gain here, gets a lot of those yards back and some. So now it's 3rd and inches, basically 3rd and 1, but unfortunately before they could run a play on 3rd down, there's a false start, so now it's 3rd and 5. On third down here, Barrios goes deep, but it is pretty well covered here, and so that makes it fourth down. And once again, Graceland goes 3 and out, still trying to find their footing here. I mean, like I said, I want to say this is only their second game against an NAIA opponent, so there you go there. Now the Spires, they take over here. Let's go ahead and fast forward to the second quarter, because that's where we get started. On first down, Cheyenne Brooks is sacked by the quarterback of the other team, Shyla Barrios, on a nice play. So now it's 2nd and 18 here. But Brooks, she goes ahead and gets some of those yards back, throws right here on the curl route to Rebecca Ruck to get some of those yards. Like I said, it's 3rd and 5 on a gain of 13. Then on third down, Brooks scrambles right for a handful of yards, maybe 2 though, not a first down, so it's 4th and 3. Now, the Spires up 14. They're going to go for it here. And here's what happens. Brooks rolls out right, and she's looking for a receiver, but she throws it, and it just goes over the head of everyone. So it is a turnover on downs. And so Graceland takes over with a 1st and 15 with 9:51 left after a nice stop for them. Only down 14. If they could get on the board, then they would potentially be cooking. And so here's what happens. They run a play action here. Roll out left. Barrios decides to scramble and get some solid yards, but a penalty would be thrown against Graceland for an illegal block. So instead of some nice yards here, it's now 1st and 25. On first down, shoot throw a check down that would go nowhere, so now it's 2nd down. On second, Barrios goes deep. It looks like there is some contact there against the receiver, but they don't call anything. But there is a roughing the passer call thrown there, and so they go ahead and call that one. And so now it's 1st and 17, still first down here. And on first down, Barrios checks it down to number 7 here. That is Sarah Tofi, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong here, but she checks it down to her, doesn't go far, maybe for a gain of 2, so that brings up 2nd down. And on second, they call a quarterback draw, and Barrios spins out of a pole for maybe about 5 or so, but a penalty is thrown on the Spires anyway for holding, as they kind of grab her jersey there. So now it's 2nd and 3 after a lot of penalties, and Graceland calls a timeout with 6:43 left here to get something drawn up. And so out of the timeout, Barrios gets a snap, draws the defenders before pitching it here on the power option, but it goes for no gain. So now it's 3rd down once more. On 3rd down, it's a quarterback design run, goes for a couple but not a first. It's like 4th and 1 here, 4th and inches. And on 4th down, Barrios gets a snap here, breaks the ankles of the rusher before taking off for a pretty solid gain here. A nice gain of about, I want to say 13 or so. And so now it's 1st and 8 past the midfield. They then go ahead and hand it off to number 2 here, Kevia Pettis, who gets the edge and gets some nice yards. So now it's 2nd and 5. Then on 2nd down here, Barrios checks it down to number 7, Tofi, who goes ahead and unfortunately loses her footing. So before she could get anything started, she goes down just short of the line of scrimmage. So now it's 3rd and 6. That went for a loss. But on 3rd down, Barrios scrambles left here and is stopped just short of the 1st down. So now it's 4th and 4. And on 4th down, they decide to call the power option. Number one runs it before flipping it just before the line of scrimmage here to Pettis, but it is stopped maybe a yard short, maybe some inches short here. And so that's a turnover on downs. The Spires, they take over, and they're looking for a knockout here, but this drive just doesn't start out well. They start with a sweep to Sade Irvin on 2nd and 10 here, but that is stopped pretty quickly by number 11, Dixon. And so that really sets back this drive here, and they're just not able to get anything going. And so the Spires would go 3 and out. Now Graceland, they would get on the clock here. They would get a nice return from number 1, who almost breaks loose, and then they would get on the clock here with some time, about 1:15 to get going. It's 1st and 5 near midfield, but then there is a lightning delay, and so they have to restart later. It hits for about an hour or 2-ish, and so it's a long break, and then they come back here. Here's what happens. Out of the lightning delay, Barrios gets the high snap here, almost drops it, but still corrals it. Rolls right by in time, no one's open, so she decides to scramble. Gets a really good gain here. It is also held in the meanwhile, and so they call that on top of the gain that she got. And so Graceland is just short of the red zone here, a 1st and 1. But after a drop snap, it's now 2nd and 10. And so on 2nd down, Barrios evades the pressure before dumping it off to number 2, Pettis, for a solid gain, making it 3rd and 3. The Spires, they call a timeout before this 3rd down play. And then on 3rd down, Barrios takes a snap and throws it down the right sideline here, takes a shot, but the receiver just doesn't get the best leverage here, and so the DB knocks this one away. Then on 4th down, they try to go for it. There's a false start, so now it's 4th and 8 with about a second left. Barrios throws a slant to number 7 here, Tofi, who breaks loose for a good gain, but is obviously stopped short of a touchdown as the clock runs out. And then they go right into the next half here. Graceland starting with it, and it starts out pretty well. Number 1, Shyla Barrios, really doing her job here and running the ball and getting some nice yards. She gets a huge chunk here on the first play, getting down the left sideline to make it 1st and inches near midfield. A gain of about 25, 26 here. Graceland would call their first time out of the half at 11:22 before direct snapping it to Tofi, who is stopped right under the line. But then they go ahead. Let's just go ahead and skip forward to 3rd and 5 here. They run a power option here. Barrios decides to cut it upfield instead of pitch it. She stopped for a loss, so now it's 4th and 4. Then on 4th down, Barrios throws the slant to her tall receiver here. That's number 20. Let me see if I can find the name. Kaylee Baker, who gets this one and then takes off, showing off some of her speed here, and makes it 1st and 4 past midfield on a gain of 20. And then on 1st down, Barrios gets snapped, no pressure at all, launches one deep to number 11 here. That would be Kylie Dixon, who basically just posts up and mosses the defender in single coverage and scores the first touchdown in program history on a 24-yard touchdown from Shyla Barrios to Kaylee Baker to get on the board and actually cut this lead to 1 score here as Graceland makes it 14-6. PAT's no good, but with 8:05 left, they are feeling pretty good. Now, the Spires take over with about 8:05 left here. After getting an initial 1st down here, a low snap would kind of kill the vibes of this one, as it would be 2nd and 19, and they would just never quite recover from that one. And so on 4th and 13, interesting enough though, they would still go for it, and I probably wouldn't have done this one, but they do it anyways. Shine Brooks gets snapped, throws the out to Talia Wright, who catches it but is like 6 yards short of the sticks, and so Graceland stops them with a turnover on downs. They take over past midfield with the 1st and 15 with about 4:40 left here, but unfortunately, Shyla Barrios on 1st down buys some time here, and then just makes an ill-advised pass, the young quarterback pass here, over the middle, which is intercepted by number 7, Latoya Mitchell, who just makes a great play on the ball here, getting the ball back for the Spires. And so, just like that, they take over with the 1st and 16 with 3:50 left, and they go ahead and make them pay. Cheyenne Brooks rolls wide right, finds Trinity Scott deep down the right sideline. The DB just misjudges where the ball is and just doesn't play it super well, and so Trinity Scott burns the defense, going down the field and scoring, making it 20-6 on a big time touchdown of about 40 plus yards, I want to say. Then on the PAT, they're going for 2. Brooks rolls right, throws it out to Leah Wright, and she makes it 22-6. For Graceland, unfortunately, some of that momentum is now gone here, and so they would go 3 and out, just not getting anything. The Spires, they would go ahead and get the ball back here. 1st and 8 approaching the red zone with under a minute left after a sack by number 11 here. That would be Kylie Dixon, which would temporarily set them back to a 2nd and 11. Let's fast forward to the 4th quarter here. They would go ahead and throw the drag to Sade Irvin, who makes a player miss and would eventually get the 1st down anyways after the temporary setback. So now it's 1st and 19 in the red zone, I believe. And here's what happens. Brooks gets snapped, throws a beautiful ball right up the seam to Talia Wright to put this thing away as they go up 28-6 with 11:11 left in this game. PAT's no good, but this one is over. The Spires would end up winning 30-6 here. Player of the game has to be Cheyenne Brooks, who was cooking this game and played a very good football game. Some things to take away from here. Let me go ahead and talk about the Spires. This offense stalled out a little bit, like in the second and third quarters, but got going in the first and fourth here. Started strong and ended strong. That's what you want there. Sade Irvin has really emerged as their star, their wideout one, so you love to see that, but you see other players like Trinity Scott and Talia Wright also getting into the mix here, doing their job, so you gotta love that. For the Spire, Cheyenne Brooks played really good football here, super accurate, on the money, buying time. Gotta love it, right? And they take care of business against inexperienced squad in Graceland. Now for Graceland, they're still trying to put it together. Had a really late start to the season, so they're in a pretty difficult spot here. But they got some players. Shyla Barrios at quarterback. She's a good athlete. Could run around, could throw as well. It just comes down to the decision making and getting that experience there. She has some good skill players around here that I really liked. Kaylee Baker, number 20, a nice tall receiver who's pretty athletic, and when you get the ball in her hands, she could definitely score. Kylie Dixon as well is another one. That's number 11 there. Pettis, Kivia Pettis, Grace Jensen, just a couple other names that I wanted to mention. Sarah Tofi, who all did a good job. It's just about putting it together day by day. This was a close game here. Unfortunately, that pick that Barrios threw late in the third quarter kind of just killed a lot of that momentum. And this was an offense that was really rolling outside of that lightning delay, and it just that pick just took so much momentum out of it. If they scored there, then they would have had a chance to tie it even and maybe make it a 1-point game at the worst. But it just didn't go their way, and so that's going to be another lesson for them to learn moving forward. And so once more, number 17, the University of St. Mary takes down Graceland University 30-6. All right, now let's go ahead and get to the next day of games from March 27th. I guess not the next day, but the Wednesday slate of games from March 27th. Up first, we got number 5, Ottawa, hosting number 9, Baker. Baker kind of on a roll here. Ottawa obviously bouncing back with a huge win over Cottey, but that was before they lost 3 straight to a couple top 5 opponents here. This would be the first top 10 opponent they play since coming back from Georgia. And so Baker, they start with the ball here. Sanaya Waller's in at quarterback. Throws it out to Destiny Martinez. She gets them started with a nice first down, a 1st and 15. But following that, Waller throws a check down here. It's tipped up and it's intercepted by Jacani Washington, who then pitches to Abby Brown, who puts them in the red zone to start. So Ottawa off to a fast start thanks to their defense here. I think a penalty would be thrown on Ottawa at some point, though, so they would actually start 1st and 2 on the edge of the red zone, just outside of it. But it doesn't matter. On first down here, Carrera gets a snap, throws it. It's almost picked here, but it's just a little bit too low of a pass, so that brings up 2nd down here. And on 2nd down, Carrera gets the snap and rifles in a dangerous throw on the post to Marley Spielberg, who was just able to get in and make it 6-0 here. Makes a great catch here to get them on the board. And then on the PAT, Carrera finds Alyssa Linkus on the drag route to make it 7-0. Ottawa getting on the board pretty quickly there. Now Baker takes over for their second drive. First down, Sanaya Waller scrambles for a couple, so it's 2nd and 1. On 2nd here, Waller finds a receiver, but it is dropped, so that brings up 3rd down. And on 3rd down, Waller finds her center / other fellow quarterback, Gabriela Zabaleta, who is stopped just short here. It's 4th and inches, and Baker decides to punt this one here, which, I mean, I don't know. It's a little conservative, but I get it. And so they go 3 and out here. Ottawa starts with the 1st and 20. So Ottawa, with their second drive of the game here, like I said, 1st and 20, Madison Carrera finds Cynthia Holmes on the slant. Kind of late here, but she still makes a play on the ball, catches it, makes a couple players miss before getting them into the red zone. Some nice yards after the catch there. Holding is also thrown against Baker, and so it will actually be 1st and 8 in the red zone. And on 1st down, Carrera rolls right and sees Bailey Hodgins just a little bit too late, who is wide open here, but it's able to be deflected away because of the late throw. So Faith Phillips knocking it away, by the way. So that brings up 2nd down here. On 2nd, Carrera rolls right, throws it to Hodgins, but they call her short, so now it's 3rd and 1. And then, interesting enough, so they line up Addie Osborne, who, by the way, is playing utility this game in the place of Mandolin Scalisi, I believe. And so Osborne is lined up at quarterback, Carrera next to her like a running back, but they direct snap it to Carrera, and then she runs it in to make it 13-0. On the PAT, Carrera rolls right and finds Jaslyn Camacho to make it 14-0. Baker would take over for the 3rd drive here, already down 2 scores though, and it doesn't get better as NAIA Waller gets snapped, overthrows our receivers, and Farron Maloof gets a pretty easy interception to make it 1st and 6, with 5:40 left still in the 1st quarter. And here's what happens: Carrera gets snapped, finds Hodgins on the drag, who goes ahead and gets them in the red zone, making it 1st and 14. On 1st down here, Carrera gets a snap and then just checks it down to Addie Osborne, who speeds right and just cuts it up the sideline here, beating the entire defense to the edge, 14 yards to the edge to make it 20-0. That's some real speed right there that they probably could have used in Georgia, interesting enough. And so that makes them go up 3 scores. PAT's no good as it's knocked away, but this one is pretty much over here. Baker, they would take over with 4:40 left, looking to get something going. Destiny Martinez would give them a 1st down, but then they would have a bad snap, and then there would be a couple throwaways, and then there would be some overthrows, and so Baker would end up punting. Ottawa would take over here, and they would put together a nice drive. Addie Osborne would actually get them in the red zone on 3rd and 13. Another check down to her. She would actually reverse fields before accelerating to put them in the red zone to make it 1st and 19. And then a couple plays later, let's go to 2nd and 13. Carrera finds Camacho on the out route to make it 26-0. Then on the PAT, Carrera finds Mando Scalisi to make it 27-0 with 8:12 left in the 2nd quarter. This game is very much over here. Ottawa ends up just beating them down 54-0. Player of the game has to be Madison Carrera, 23 of 31 for 269 yards and 5 touchdowns, as she played some pretty good football as the game went on here, spreading around the ball and getting some other receivers involved here. Tatiana Dos Santos, though, with a big game as she got reinserted in the lineup, I believe, for this one. Didn't see her in Georgia, but 5 receptions for 171 yards and a touchdown. Addie Osborne right behind her, though, with 4 receptions for 45 and a touchdown. 5 interceptions from this Ottawa defense from Haley McKay, Hope Humes, Jacanie Washington, and Farron Maloof. Baker just really struggled in this game outside of Destiny Martinez, who was their lone bright spot. NAIA Waller, 14 of 32, 92 passing yards, 4 interceptions, 39 rushing yards. Destiny Martinez, like I said, the lone bright spot, led with 7 receptions, 68 yards, and 5 tackles on defense, leading both in yards, receptions, and I want to say flag pulls as well. Let me talk about Ottawa here. I'm going to give them their flowers because it looks like they made some very interesting changes. Instead of Scalisi, they have Addie Osborne, who, granted, in the past, they have won their last 2 national championships, partially in thanks to Addie Osborne, who is arguably the best screen blocker in the entire country, while also being one of the best utility, just receiver, running backs in the entire country as well. If they continue to use her here, she's probably definitely going to win Utility Player of the Year for sure. And she just changes this offense, gives them a very big threat out of that backfield there. And so that's absolutely big time. You also saw Tatiana Dos Santos get in there for a good amount of playing time. Didn't really see her too much in Georgia. She's a bigger body out there. And so that's obviously big time against, an opponent who has some really good athletes over there in Baker. Young, though, which definitely reflected in the score. Madison Carrera, started out a little, shaky, a little rusty, but really settled in here, finding her rhythm, going for 5 touchdowns and 23 of 31, which is pretty efficient there. And then defensively, Ottawa, they've been on top of it here. They did have DJ Paris back. I don't believe she was back for the Cottey game. I could have been mistaken, though, but she didn't play after the St. Thomas game in Georgia. She was back. That gives them a couple more, looks and some things they could do over there. And so the defense was playing really good football, making the most out of Baker's mistakes. Now, let's talk about Baker here. They were on the rise ever since they got beat by Ottawa. They beat Kansas Wesleyan, which is wild, by 2 here, which is a huge win for this young squad, and then has just been rolling. And then I don't know what happened, but offensively, they just looked horrible. And, they're a young team, right? Maybe there's still, they had to travel to Ottawa, so this was an away game, but there's probably still some sort of intimidation there. And, they got to learn to you got to play through it. You got to play without fear. And so, this is a young team with a lot of potential. They're arguably one of the best young teams in the entire country. I would definitely say probably the best first-year program in the country. It's probably close. Would have loved to see them play Live Point, even Milligan as well, who is kind of a younger team. They returned this season. So there you go there. But they're still one of the best first-year programs in the entire country. Have a very bright future ahead of them. I just think this season right now, they're not quite ready to rock with the big-time contenders, as in Kansas Wesleyan and Ottawa in the KCAC, and probably in the country as well. They do have the potential to upset somebody. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but we still just got to see what happens moving forward here. Getting 50-pieced by Ottawa 2 times this season, which is the same team that got blown out 2 times in Georgia by top 5 opponents, isn't exactly the greatest look there. So, it is what it is. And actually, not blown out 2 times. I guess the Thomas game was only 2 scores, but that game really wasn't that close anyways. But still, though, if you're Baker, you got to continue to learn, get better, reevaluate. I think in a lot of ways, this was a very uncharacteristic game out of them. They beat themselves just as much as Ottawa beat them. And, that results in losing 54-0, unfortunately. So there you go there. Not too much more to say. Ottawa wins a big one here, 54-0. Some could say even a statement win over number 9 Baker. Now on the same day, number 6 Kansas Wesleyan was playing fellow first-year program number 12 Southwestern, as in fellow first-year program, compared to Baker. And this one wasn't really close. Kansas Wesleyan went up 32-0 at half as they just got out to a large lead here. Chihiro Iwata finding 4 different receivers in the first half. J.J. Howes, Angel Rome, Jasmine Whitfield, and Aaliyah Young, 2 times, by the way, to go ahead and get them started. Iwata, at the end of this game, 24 of 28, 234 yards, 5 touchdowns. Jasmine Whitfield, 10 receptions, 64 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That led all receivers there. Lexi Marquez with 8 flagpoles. Alexa Mansour right behind her with 7, though. And then for Southwestern, they just kind of continue to struggle outside of Dooley and Solis. Miranda Dooley, 14 of 22, 76 passing yards, 22 rushing yards. Viviana Solis, 2 of 2 passing for 6 yards and a passing touchdown to Davina Little. Also was their lead receiver with 5 receptions for 26 yards. Aaliyah Hansen and Mallory Lund with 6 flagpoles each here. But just kind of how it goes here. Kansas Wesleyan ends up beating them 38-6 when all was said and done. Just not a super close game, and I didn't expect it to really be a close one anyways. Kansas Wesleyan takes care of business before their big game here coming up the next day. And then for Southwestern, just trying to get better with what you got, but still just a very small roster to work with. And so, you got to work with what you got for now and continue to move forward and get better. But number 6 KWU takes care of number 12 Southwestern 38-6. Moving on into some more KCAC action, we have number 18 Cottey versus number 19 Graceland. Cottey hosting this one. Graceland looking to maybe play a closer game here as they played the University of St. Mary pretty close for about 3, almost 4 quarters before it just got away from them. And so let's go ahead and hop into this one here. Graceland starts with it to start. Number 1, Shiloh Barrios scrambles right and tries to throw it over the middle here on the whip route, but her receiver bobbles it and it's intercepted. A diving interception by Kenzie Murdoch just on the edge of the red zone to make it 1st and 1. And then on 1st down, Cottey runs a quarterback design run with Amaya Carullo, who rolls right, jukes left, and then walks it in to make it 6-0 on a 21-yard rushing touchdown here, which is wild. And then on the 2-point conversion here, Carullo throws the corner out to Jonathan Tolentino to make it 8-0 with 11:31 left. A very quick start for Cottey here. Graceland tries to get something going here after Barrios gets a 1st down, spitting out of a couple of pulls here. They just kind of fizzle out here. It comes down to a 4th and 5 where they go for it near midfield. Barrios tries to cut it upfield here after looking, but Suzanne Aubert sacks her to force a turnover on downs. A big sack right there. And so Cottey starts with the 1st and 10 at 8:40. They go ahead and get this offensive drive started where Maya Carullo throws the check down to Kenzie Murdoch to make it 2nd and 6, a nice gain of 4. Following that, she throws the hitch to Maya Squire, who makes it 3rd and 2. Following that, Amaya Carullo scrambles for the 1st down, but illegal contact is called against Cottey, so that makes it 3rd and 5 again. But it doesn't matter, as Carullo on the design quarterback run goes left and gets the 1st down, a 1st and 17 here. On 1st down, Carullo rolls right, finds Jonathan Tolentino on the out to make it 2nd and 2 here. And then the stream for Cottey glitches, but I know they score, and so they get the PAT as well to make it 16-0. Just a very unfortunate timing by the stream, but whatever, it is what it is. Now Graceland, they take over here, get something going. They do get a 1st down thanks to a nice throw on the out route to Grace Jensen. They run a play action here on 1st and 14. Barrios ends up scrambling for a short gain here to make it 2nd and 8, but then the stream glitches again. And so all I see when it comes back is that it's a turnover down to 2nd and 15 for Cottey in the red zone with about a minute to go here. Carullo then gets sacked here by Kaylee Dixon, making it 3rd and long. Following that, Carullo scrambles left, airs it out, but it is incomplete here. And then the stream just goes out again, but Cottey somehow scores here. And all I see is the PAT where Carullo throws the out to Laurentia Botts to make it 24-0. This game is over. Also, this stream is like making me so frustrated. It's like literally only glitching out during turnovers and touchdowns, and so I could not take it anymore. But Cottey, they beat Graceland down 58-0 here, just dominating this one from the get-go here. Not a close game at all, as Graceland couldn't even score against them, even though they did score against the Spires, and their offense looked relatively okay here at times, but still struggling to put it together, as it's only their 3rd game. Well, this is like Cottey's 6th or 7th, I want to say, at least 5 they've played. A couple notable stats: Suzanne Aubert, the French woman, first 2-sack game, also caught her 1st career touchdown, so that's a big time. Amaya Carullo, 3 rushing touchdowns and 118 rushing yards. Believe that is the 2nd best in program history. I want to say the most rushing yards that Carullo the most rushing yards in Cottey flag football history was also by Amaya Kurula. So there you go there. And then Angie Cruz, 6 tackles, 1 interception, big time on defense. And then obviously player of the game, I think I got to give it to Amaya Kurula, who was on top of it this game. Obviously, she had the 3 rushing touchdowns and 118 rushing yards, but she also had a couple passing touchdowns as well to go with it. So there you go there. Cottey winning a big one here. I mean, according to our rankings, Graceland is only ranked like 1 spot below them. So for number 18 to blow out number 19 Graceland that much, definitely a big time win for them, and potentially a reason to move them up in the power rankings. So we will see about that. But Cottey winning a big one over number 19 Graceland. All right, now for the last matchup here on Wednesday, March 27th, we got number 8 Midland playing at number 17, the University of St. Mary here. I would consider this one a rivalry, and actually now that I'm looking at the schedule here for the KCAC, this is pretty much rivalry week here, as Midland and the Spires are rivals. I would say Kansas Wesleyan and Ottawa are definitely rivals as well, and so this would kind of kick off rivalry week for them. Early on in these matchups, the Spires used to dominate this one the first 2 years, and then pretty much as of late, so last season and early on this season as well, Midland has kind of evened it up here. I think all time, if I did the math correctly, because I just flipped through all the schedules, all time the Spires actually lead this series 6-5 here. Midland just 1 game behind, looking to maybe even up this rivalry series here, all time that is. And so let's go ahead and hop into it. Midland starts on offense. Angel Ioane Kao on or in at quarterback. She gets a snap, throws it out to Emily Farron, who spins out of a tackle, getting their first down here, a 1st and 18. After an incompletion, it's 2nd and 18. They run a power option left, but it goes nowhere and is also stopped for a loss. So now it's 3rd and 20 here. And on 3rd down, Ioane Kao gets the snap and goes deep down the right sideline and finds Aaliyah Livingston, who head tops the DB and then gets a big time 1st down, a 1st and 18 past the midfield, and a big time chunk play for Midland. After that, they go ahead and go back to Livingston here, finding her in the flat, who makes some nice yards after the catch, so that makes it 2nd and 10. Ioane Kao at this point continues to keep it going here and gets it back to Livingston a 3rd time, throwing an absolute dot on the post, and Livingston, she goes ahead and takes care of the rest, taking it to the house to put Midland up 6-0 here. Midland goes for 1, and on the PAT, Ioane Kao finds a receiver in the back of the end zone. Couldn't quite see who it was, but she gets her feet in bounds, so that makes it 7-0, scoring on the first drive of this game here. That Ioane Kao to Livingston connection, very good to start. Now the Spires, they take over here. They would get a solid 1st down here on 3rd and 3. Cheyenne Brooks, their freshman quarterback, scrambles left, evading the pressure, and is just able to get that 1st down, making it 1st and 19. But after a jet sweep is stopped for a loss, making it 2nd and 21, and a dropped pass, it's now 3rd and 21 here. And on 3rd down, Brooks goes deep on the corner, but it's overthrown. So eventually the Spires will punt it, and Midland takes over just past midfield with a 1st and 20. And on 1st down here, Ioane Kao takes a shot deep down on the post, this time to Olivia Dominguez-Millsap, and it is on the money. And Olivia Dominguez-Millsap takes it to the house on another 40-yard touchdown on the post to go ahead and put them up 13-0 with 4:24 left. Ioane Kao on the PAT throws a dart to Livingston on the hitch to make it 14-0, as some big splash plays on these post routes are giving Midland some life here to start. Now the Spires looking to stay in this game here. They want to get this thing started, so that's what they do on their 2nd drive. They go ahead and check it down to Latoya Mitchell a couple of times, who goes ahead and gets the 1st down here, a 1st and 19. And then following that, Cheyenne Brooks goes deep on the seam And it's just not a great decision here, as it's almost picked, but it's dropped as two Midland defenders kind of run into each other, but still knocked away. So now it's 2nd and 19. On 2nd down here, Brooks, she just checks it down here to Talia Wright, who makes it 3rd and 14. And then on 3rd down here, Cheyenne Brooks gets a snap and takes a shot down the field. And it's the former Midland Warrior here, Sade Turbo Irvin, who brings in the perfect pass and makes it 1st and 10. Just an absolute bomb here, and Irvin gets a couple steps on the defender and brings this one in and is just stopped short of scoring. And so now they are in the red zone off of a, I want to say 34, off of a 44-yard gain here on a perfect throw here. And it was solid coverage, but Sade Irvin, she is like that here. And like I said, you got to remember, Sade Irvin played her freshman year at Midland, transferred, sat out last year because of conference rules, and then is playing her first year here for the Spires. And so 1st and 10 in the red zone. Here's what happens. Cheyenne Brooks gets a snap, throws the post here in rhythm to Trinity Scott right in the back of the end zone to put the Spires on the board 14-6 here. On the PAT, they go for 2, but it is overthrown. But regardless, the Spires get back into this one thanks to some beautiful throws from their freshman quarterback, Cheyenne Brooks. Now, Midland, they take over with about 43 seconds left here in this first quarter. 1st down, it's an overthrow. 2nd down, they get sacked by the Spires, who sends 2. Both of them get there. So now it's 3rd and 13. The Spires will then call their first timeout here. But actually, I think that will be after the first quarter ends. So they called their first timeout in the second quarter at around the 11-minute mark. It's 3rd and 13 for Midland. And here's what happens out of that one. Ioane Kayo gets a snap, and she tries to flip the ball here, something she's always done, but the ball just kind of slips out of her hands. And unfortunately, the ball lands into the end zone behind her, so that'll be a safety here. Just a very fluky play here. Like I said, I've seen her play football the last 2 seasons. That's something she's always done. It just happened to flip out of her hands on this on this try. And so the Spires, they will get the ball back here. And it's also 14-8. So now they have a chance to go ahead and tie this game here. And so the Spires start with the 1st and 10 approaching midfield. On 1st down, it's a low throw, so incomplete. 2nd down, Brooks evades the pressure, checks it down to Latoya Mitchell, who jukes a defender and takes off for a nice gain to make it 1st and 15 past midfield on a gain of 15. On 1st down here, Brooks steps up in the pocket, throws a nice little pass off platform to the post in the late window to Sade Irvin to make it 1st and 15 in the red zone, as the Spires offense is looking really good, the best they've looked all season. And then on 1st and 15 in the red zone, Brooks tries to go deep towards the back of the end zone, but the safety closes in on it and almost gets the diving interception, but it falls incomplete. On 2nd and 15, there's a low throw, but a penalty is thrown on Midland for illegal contact. So now it's 2nd and 7, repeating 2nd down here. And on this down here, Brooks tries to evade the pressure, but Sydney Red gets a sack here, a big one for Midland, making it 3rd and 15. But then on 3rd down here, Brooks gets the snap, rifles a curl route to Yana Harris, who slips the first tackle before tight-roping down the sideline to tie this game here and make it 14-14 here. The Spires go for 2, but Brooks is forced to check it down, and that goes nowhere here. But regardless, this rivalry game living up to the hype, as these teams always play each other pretty close here. And so now it is tied with 7:40 left. But Midland, they have enough time here to go ahead and get on the board. So they take over, and here's what happens. Ioane Kayo looks to reply and throws a bomb down the right sideline here to Alyssa Butler, which goes for a huge gain here, a gain of about 30-plus yards. So now it's 1st and 12 past midfield here on the other side of the field. And on 1st down, Ioane Kayo on the power option pitches it left, and Elia Livingston takes it up the sideline for a long gain. Now they're in the red zone, 1st and 9 here. And on 1st down, Ioane Kayo rifles the out to Alyssa Butler, who then walks it in to make it 20-14. Midland replying right away here. Midland goes for 1, and on the PAT, Ioane Kayo tries to throw the out, but it is picked by Talia Wright, who jumps the route and is almost returned here. I don't know if it would have went for points if she scored, but eventually she is tracked down around midfield and stopped. And so the Spires take over with 6:16 left. If they score here, then they could get a potential touchdown. And they put together a nice drive. An illegal contact penalty, as well as a scramble by Cheyenne Brooks, will give them a first down, making it 1st and 12 there. Following that, it's 2nd and 9 here, a play later, and Brooks scrambles for a couple before pitching it to Braley Chris, who is knocked over, and so that's a penalty for tripping. So now it's 1st and 17 past midfield. Fast forward a couple plays, let's go to 3rd and 7 here. Brooks evades the pressure, steps up, throwing a dot on the dig to Trinity Scott, who gets into open field and gets them a first past midfield, almost scoring here, but is stopped just short here. So now it's 1st and 4, a gain of 23 on that one. On 1st down, they check it down to Mitchell, who gets a yard. On 2nd down, Brooks decides to scramble left and picks up a solid chunk here. So now it's 1st down in the red zone, I want to say. Yep, in the red zone. So 1st and 15 in the red zone. Brooks gets a snap, goes deep, but it is into double coverage here and is intercepted by NAIA Livingston. And so that puts an end to that drive, which is not a good job there by the Spires. Midland will get the ball, though, but would not get anything, as a couple overthrows would force a 3 and out. The Spires would get the ball with about 52 seconds left here, but a tough intentional grounding play would also result in this drive and not resulting in anything. And so going into half, Midland is up 20-14 here. The Spires playing them pretty close here. And also the University of St. Mary, they get the ball out of the half too. So playing them pretty close in a potential big time upset win that they could get at home, but they got to take care of business coming out of this half. And so here's what happens. Cheyenne Brooks gets a snap, throws a slant to Sade Irvin. A little late here, but still brought in, and she jukes around, getting a lot of yards after the catch. So now it's 1st and 9 as they approach midfield here. Following that, Cheyenne Brooks evades the pressure, sets her feet, and launches one deep to Ayanna Harris, who's wide open. It's a little late here, but she still brings it in for a huge chunk play, a play that goes for about 27 yards. So now it's 1st and 3 in the red zone here. On 1st down, Brooks scrambles, but is stopped for no gain, so that brings up 2nd down. And on 2nd down, Cheyenne Brooks gets a snap and just makes a really bad decision and makes a really bad pass, throwing it towards the back of the end zone in double coverage, and it is intercepted by Aliciana Patterson and returned by her, but she's stopped basically on the 1. So not the best decision, but interesting enough, she starts to run towards the Midland sideline, then turns back, runs towards the Spires sideline, and tosses the ball to the OC, who is very not happy and is probably having some choice words with her. But like I said, just a really bad interception here. Not only was it a bad throw, but she also really, she stared down this route concept for a really long time. So that was a pretty easy pick. So there you go there. It's 1st and 19 for Midland, kind of backed up, but, they stopped a potential scoring drive by the Spires. Angel Ioane-Kaiyo, though, would go ahead and get them out of this tough spot. She would go up the seam here to NAIA Livingston, who's having a great game, and she brings in a tough catch to make it 1st and 9, approaching midfield, a gain of 28 on that one. Following that, there's an overthrow. On 2nd down, there's a dangerous curl route thrown. The route is jumped and almost picked, so it's another incompletion, but obviously a tough missed opportunity by the Spires. 3rd down here, Ioane-Kaiyo throws it out to Emily Farron, who tries to tiptoe down the sideline, but is stopped just short here, so it's 4th and 4. Obviously, Midland will go for it here. Ioane-Kaiyo, she throws it out here to Emily Farron, slightly late here, and it looks like the defender is trying to pull her flag, but the refs don't like how her arms are around her, I guess, and so that's a holding penalty here. She would have been short, I believe, and so a huge penalty for them. A little questionable, I'm not going to lie, but still a key 1st down here. And following that, Ioane-Kaiyo goes deep down the left sideline, finds Olivia Domingos Millsap in stride, but she drops it. And so that's incomplete. Now 2nd down here. They go ahead and call play action play, and then the Spires defense just bites really hard on this one. And so that just sets this one up real easy. Ioane-Kaiyo finds Alyssa Butler on the drag, and she takes that sucker to the house as Midland takes a commanding 26-14 lead with 5:29 left. PAT is no good on this one, but Midland with all the momentum after stopping the Spires and marching the length of the field here to go ahead and score on this one. For the Spires, they're trying to get something going here on this next drive. Let's fast forward to 3rd and 7. Brooks gets a snap, goes deep to Trinity Scott, but this one is just underthrown here. Scott is open on this post route here, but like I said, underthrown, so the defense is able to catch up, and it is intercepted off the tip here, and it's intercepted by Elysiana Patterson, who gets her 2nd pick of the day and just takes the life out of the Spires team here, as Midland would take over. And following this one here, they would go ahead and eventually on the RPO in the red zone, Ioane Kaiyo would find Kobe J wide open on the drag to make it 32-14. Then a direct snap would make it 33-14 here. Sorry, a direct snap to the utility player and pitch to Elijah Livingston would make it 33-14. And this one would be over, as this one just gets away from Midland here. Only 2:25 left in the third, but just so much momentum taken out of their sails. Midland beats the University of St. Mary 40-14 and finally evens up the all-time record at 6-6 here. 6 wins, 6 losses all-time against the Spires in their last regular season matchup. Angel Ioane Kaiyo, 15-24, 331 yards and 6 touchdowns. She was on it this game, playing very good football. Alyssa Butler, 5 receptions, 152 yards, 3 touchdowns, leading in yards and touchdowns, I want to say. But for player of the game, I think it has to be Elysiana Patterson. She had 2 interceptions. I think she's only accredited with 1, but she definitely caught the second one there. And, you know, that first one in the red zone absolutely took the wind out of the Spires' sails, and then the second one was for good measure, just to make sure that they had no more momentum, and so that was big time there. The Spires, I mean, they played a pretty close game here, but just a young team. The quarterback made some bad decisions in the third quarter that put them in a tough spot, as Midland would score off of all those turnovers here. Brooks, 23 of 37, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, also 2 picks, I'm pretty sure. Shada Irvin, 3 receptions, 79 yards. Ayana Harris, 3 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Latoya Mitchell, 9 receptions, 65 yards, as she spread out the ball pretty well. Talia Wright was their lead tackler with 5 tackles in that one. So there you go there. Midland, you know, they played a good game offensively. They were on fire this game. They did pretty much whatever they wanted. Angel Ioane Kaiyo was definitely on top of it in this game and played one of her best in her entire career, which was big time. All the receivers did their job defensively. They really locked in here and stopped the Spires from doing much after those first 2 scores. And, you know, you got to love that. For the University of St. Mary, you know, the youth showed a little bit here. Cheyenne Brooks, it felt like, just kind of fell apart a little bit after a hot start. But, you know, she is a freshman. This is a pretty big rivalry game, I would say. And so that's just a tough way to go. Still threw for 300 yards and like 2 touchdowns, which you got to feel good about. But, you know, moving forward, you want to make sure you look at the film, continue to learn and get better from that. But other than that, you know, they showed some really good flashes here. You know, you saw some things you really like. You know, you look at some of her receivers here, Ayana Harris, Latoya Mitchell. I think both of them are freshmen. Talia Wright as well as a freshman. Shadi Irvin, you know, a little bit older. I want to say either a sophomore or junior for the squad. But still, this is a core that will hold for the next 2 or 3 years. So you got to love that. Against a very experienced Midland squad. Their whole receiving core is in their 2nd year. Andrew Ioane Kaiyo, I want to say, in her 3rd year. And then, you know, you got players like Elysiana Patterson, Michaela Nunez in their 3rd and 4th year. So definitely an older squad. But, you know, at the end of the day, Midland, they took care of business here, swept them in the regular season, tie this rivalry game record up at 6-6 all time, and also got the 40-14 dub. So there you go there. Okay, moving on, let's go to the Thursday slate of games from March 28th. Let's go ahead and start with Keiser. Number 1 Keiser versus number 13 Florida Memorial. Flomo coming off a win last weekend, and then Keiser also coming off a pretty clutch win last weekend as well. Some things to note for Florida Memorial: had a much smaller squad on the sideline this game here. Only 6 backups, so definitely worth noting. But going into this one, Flomo would start with the ball here. It would start with a throw from Tamalu Santos, their quarterback, to Diamond Mays. That will get them started with the first down, but eventually they would kind of fizzle out here. It would come down to a 3rd and 9 here. They'd pitch it to Alexis Nelson here, but a penalty would be thrown against FMU, but also she didn't get any yards, so it would be declined, and so they would punt. Keiser would take over. They would have a 1st and 5 approaching midfield with about 7:30 left here. To start, they would go ahead and put Haley Young, their backup quarterback, under center, or more accurately, align her behind the center in shotgun, and Jasmine Roden was off to the side. But they would go ahead and snap it to Young, who would then throw it to Roden, who would find Kennedy Foster near the sideline, who turns upfield for a nice gain there to start. That would go ahead and give them a solid first down play. Fast forward a down. It's 2nd and 14. Same look, except they go the opposite way, this time to Jasmine Roden on, I want to say, the left sideline. And she goes ahead and finds Ashley Clam on the curl, who breaks a tackle and accelerates, up the right sideline to make it 6-0. So they will throw it right to Roden, who would then find Ashley Clam. And then she would go ahead and accelerate for a big time touchdown here. This was a long one to go ahead and get them on the board. Now, for the PAT, Roden's under center here. She hands it off on the end around, who then finds Brenna Ramirez in the back of the end zone to make it 7-0. So there you go. Big time touchdown to get them started. A couple big plays to get them started. When FMU takes over, there's about 5:29 left as they start their second drive. And on this drive, they continue to feed their star Erica Johnson, who gives them a first down on the out route left to get them started there. Not a first down, but gets them close to a first down, a 2nd and 1. Then they would throw a slant to Johnson, who would get it and give them the first down, making it 1st and 18. And then on this next play here, Santos finds Erica Johnson this time on the slant as well, but she goes ahead and speeds up field, burning a bit of this defense. Eventually they get her corralled here, just stopping her from scoring, but they are in the red zone on this big 30-plus yard gain here. And so 1st and 15 after that big gain, Santos gets snapped, throws the quick hitter to Johnson, who's met pretty physically by Kennedy Foster. She obviously goes for the ball there and stops her short, but she's a little bit shaken up, so it's 2nd and 13. But on 2nd down, Santos overthrows it, so it's incomplete. On 3rd and 13, Santos gets a snap, tries to throw it, but it is tipped up by the rusher and caught by herself. That's Emma Wagman, who goes the other way and is gone to the house as Keiser goes up 13-0 here. An excellent play by Emma Wagman to tip the ball up at the line and then catch it herself and return it for a big-time touchdown to erase probably one of the most promising drives for FMU. Now, they would go for 2 here, and Roden would throw the fade to Ashley Clam, who basically is in one-on-one, which is dangerous, and she head tops the DB to make it 15-0. And so FMU takes over with about 2:08 left after 2 pretty demoralizing plays, and they kind of continue with their efforts here with their game plan, which is to feed Erica Johnson. That would be pretty much good enough to find themselves in a 4th and 4 situation approaching the red zone. And once they were in that spot on 4th down, Santos gets snapped, checks it down to Perla Batista, who makes it 1st and 20 in the red zone, their second red zone trip of the game here. But unfortunately, they're not able to get too much going after a nice pitch to Amelia Smith would gain them 6. And so let's fast forward to 4th and 14 here after the 2-minute warning. And FMU would actually call it their second timeout of the half, anyways, to give them more time. But after the timeout, they would go ahead, have Santos snap it, shoot, throw it down the right sideline, but it'd be overthrown and a turnover on downs. And so then Keiser takes over with only their second drive ever of this game here. And here's what happens after they get that initial first down. Let's skip forward a play here because there's an overthrow on first down. And so on second down, Roden gets a snap and throws a beautiful pass on the post route to Ashley Clam, who goes ahead and brings us one in stride and goes 56 yards to the house here, scoring another touchdown, or scoring again, I should say. And so Keiser goes for 2 on the PAT, but it is overthrown. They do call roughing the passer on FMU though, so that gives them another chance. Still, a 2-point try, but this time from the 5. And Roden throws the check down to Brianna Hernandez Silva, but unfortunately it is dropped there. And so they only have to settle for a 21-point lead. Now, FMU would try to get something going here. And on 1st and 14, after a PI, Santos goes deep, but Ashley Clam is there to go ahead and bait her and intercepts this one to go ahead and kill that drive. And so Keiser only has about 15 seconds left here in the quarter and in the half. And so here's what happens. Roden gets snapped, rolls wide left, and throws it deep to a wide open Chloe Griffin, who burns the rest of this defense and makes it 27-0. On the 2-point conversion, Roden scrambles from 10 yards out to make it 29-0, and this one would basically be over. Sydney Woodman would grab an interception at the end of this half to basically drive the nail in the coffin. Player of the game, I gotta say, is Ashley Clam here. She had 2 touchdowns on 90 yards and a pick. I want to say most of that was all in the first half, actually. Keiser would end up beating Florida Memorial 56-0 in this game. 4 different quarterbacks threw a touchdown, and all but Brianna Hernandez Silva threw for 2 touchdowns. And so those other 3 quarterbacks would be Jasmine Roden, obviously, Haley Young, and then the freshman Valentina Finetti getting in there and scoring. As far as defense goes, Sydney Woodman led with 6 tackles and a pick, playing really good football as of late, and as of one of the best linebackers in the country. Florida Memorial would throw 5 interceptions to Woodman, Lizandra Amore, Emma Wagaman, Ashley Clam, and Brenna Ramirez. Erica Johnson was really the lone bright spot for this FMU team, who had 102 yards and 2 tackles here, but obviously was not enough to overcome Keiser. Even then, for FMU, they had their moments. They looked good, got into the red zone a couple of times here. Tamalu Santos continues to get better. This is a tough defense, for sure, so I definitely get it there. And, they had a solid game plan. It also looks like, they got rid of some players, or some players just didn't make the trip here, and they were a little bit more focused in this one. So there you go there. But unfortunately, Keiser still wins 56-0 over Florida Memorial. Moving on to more Sun Conference action and more top 10 play here. We have number 4 St. Thomas facing off with number 7 Weber, at Weber, by the way. St. Thomas would start with the ball here, and they will get a couple nice first downs led by Holly Neer, who would throw it to Kaylee Miller, Rayona Baker, and Jada Graham, the usual suspects here. Let's go ahead and fast forward to a 4th and 12 here. I want to say this is approaching midfield here, but 4th and 12, Holly Neer throws the corner to Jada Graham, but she's able to toe tap it in here. Nice play, and actually, they're past midfield, and so this play would result in a first down in the red zone on a nice throw to Jada Graham and catch by her as well. So it's 1st and 18 in the red zone. On first down, Neer throws the wheel to Jada Graham, who gets a couple, setting up 2nd and 15. Following that, she would throw the slant to Maria Vega. That would make it 3rd and 7. And then on 3rd down, Holly Neer feels the pressure, tries to check it down, but it is dropped. So that brings up a 4th and 7 here. And on 4th and 7, Holly Neer aims for the corner out, but it is well covered. So it probably would have been picked, and it was overthrown anyway. So turnover on downs. Weber takes over with a 1st and 13. But After initially getting a first down on a 2nd and 11 where Wilson throws the out route, Sam Wilson throws the out route to Riley Bolser, who would give them that first down. They were not able to do too much more here. Would get some solid yards thanks to an out thrown to Caitlin Sigmundy, but it would end up being a 3rd and 4 here a couple plays later. And on 3rd down, Wilson rifles one to Zoe Mello, but she's not able to hold on to it, so that brings up 4th and 4 near midfield, and Weber will go ahead and punt. Now St. Thomas takes over here with about 2:16 left. First down's incomplete. 2nd down is a short curl route thrown to Aona Baker, making it 3rd and 7. Weber will then call their first timeout at 1:16. And then out of the timeout, 3rd down here, Holly Neer moves around trying to avoid Jasmine Henry before deciding to scramble. But Jasmine Henry makes a great play here, diving for the sack to make it 4th and 9 and forcing a St. Thomas 3 and out. Now Weber, not too much would be going for them. A drop pass and a couple incompletions, so it would also result in a 3 and out. So let's go ahead and go to the 2nd quarter here where St. Thomas takes over once more. Well, I should say this, Holly Neer scrambles, and then they would call illegal contact on St. Thomas. So once more, that would kind of ruin this drive here, making it 1st and 29. They would not be able to get too many more yards. In fact, it would come down to a 3rd and 22 2 plays later, where Holly Neer evades the pressure, throws the curl to Jada Graham, and that gets them a couple, but she is still very short of the first down, so it's 4th and 7 here. Like I said, past midfield. St. Thomas calls a timeout after trying to get trying to do a hard count to pull Weber off sides. And then out of the timeout, they call the play. Holly Neer gets a snap, scrambling around, but Jasmine Henry once more dives for another huge sack, her 2nd of the day, and another turnover on downs. And so Weber takes over, still 0-0, mind you, with a 1st and 4. She would go ahead, Sam Wilson would go ahead and find Caitlin Sigmundy for a few to make it 2nd and 2 on the whip route. Following that, it's 2nd down here, and Wilson throws the out to Leah Bailey. That's 1st down and 17 past midfield as Weber continues, or begins to roll, I should say, and continues to roll. And then on 1st down, Wilson throws the hitch to Riley Bolser. That goes for a couple for about 6. On 2nd here, Wilson throws the out to Zoe Mello, but it's unfortunately dropped. So that brings up 3rd and 11 with about 5 minutes left. And Wilson scrambles for a couple, is stopped pretty short here. So that brings up a 4th and 7 here. And on 4th down, Wilson gets a snap, evades left, avoiding Lanaya Leone, and throws off platform here and finds Zoe Mello on the money on this post route, who jukes a defender and walks it in for the touchdown. Weber getting on the board here, going up 6-0. On the PAT, Wilson would throw the fade to Riley Bolser, but it is well covered, so it would stay at 6-0. But Weber getting a big-time touchdown here. This was a 27-yard touchdown to go ahead and get on the board. Now, St. Thomas looking to reply here. A couple plays in, it's 3rd and 10. Still haven't gotten a first down. The 2-minute warning hits before this 3rd down play, by the way. But on 3rd and 10, Neer throws the post to Jada Graham, who goes up and gets it. A nice physical catch to make it 1st and 12 past the midfield. A huge gain for them on that one there. Following that, Neer would throw a check down, but it's almost picked off by Sammy Gonzalez, who jumps the route. But unfortunate for Weber, fortunate for St. Thomas, it's dropped. And so that brings up 2nd down here. St. Thomas would call their 2nd timeout before this play. But on 2nd down, out of the timeout, they would false start. So now it's 2nd and 17 here. And then finally on 2nd down here, Holly Neer throws the out to Leah Cruz, who would get some solid yards, but a penalty is thrown against Weber. So it will now be 2nd and inches. So here we go, 2nd down again for what feels like the 3rd time. But before we get there, Weber calls the timeout before the 2nd down play. So here we go, 2nd down for like the 4th or 5th time. Holly Neer gets a snap, checks it down to Maya Salas, who jukes and gets some nice yards after the catch. Not quite scoring here, but getting the first down in the red zone. So it's 1st and 6 here. And on 1st down, Neer tries to squeeze it to Rihanna Baker, but Gabby Franzosi knocks it away. A great play by her. That brings up 2nd here in the red zone. And on second down, Hollineer runs the play action and tries to throw towards the back right pylon to Kaylee Miller, and she has her, but it is dropped. And so now that brings up a third down here on third and 6, I want to say, in the red zone. And Hollineer just throws the slant to Tyler Bryant, who walks in and makes it 6-6, tying this game. Right before the PAT, St. Thomas would call a timeout here. And then out of the timeout, Hollineer would go back to Tyler Bryant to give them the PAT, the extra point, to make it 7-6, and also give them the lead in this one. Now, Weber would take over with just over a minute left, 1:06 seconds left here, but would not be able to get too much going here. St. Thomas obviously wouldn't allow anything deep, and then Wilson would take a tough sack here with, I want to say it was on second down here, which would kind of set them back, and that would pretty much be it then. And so going into the second half, Weber trails only 7-6, but they would get the ball to start. Unfortunately, not too much would happen, as after they would get the first down, which would be Wilson throwing the curl to Zoe Mello, they would kind of stall out here on 3rd and 10. Wilson tries to check it down to Sammy Gonzalez, but Lanaya Leone knocks down this pass, and so it would be 4th and 10, and Weber would punt. Now, St. Thomas, they will get started here, and let's go ahead and fast forward to a third down play here after they will get a first down where Hollineer checks it down to Salas. A couple plays later, it would be third down, and Hollineer evades the pressure and then launches one deep to Leah Cruz, who goes ahead and turns on the Jets and gets in for a touchdown down the left sideline, making it 13-6. But a penalty is thrown way back at the line of scrimmage for illegal contact. So this touchdown is called back, and now it goes from it being a touchdown to St. Thomas being in a 3rd and 16 situation. And on 3rd and 16, Hollineer tries to go for the post, but it's well covered and almost picked, honestly. And so it's incomplete, and St. Thomas has to punt. Still up, but obviously would be more comfortable with that score. Now, on the punt here, Cheyenne Duran catches it off the bounce and then accelerates up the right sideline here with open room and almost scores, but is stopped just short here. She does set up Weber with a 1st and 5 in the red zone, and off of that great return, Sam Wilson gets a snap on first down, rolls left after going right, setting the blocker up here very nicely, and then finds Bria Cam over the middle to retake the lead 12-7 with just over a couple minutes left in the third quarter. Now, on the PAT, Wilson tries to throw the out to Gonzalez, but she is falling down when she throws it. Gonzalez, that is, so it's incomplete. Now, St. Thomas takes over, obviously not out of it. If they score a touchdown, they automatically take the lead. And here's what happens on first down. Hollineer scrambles left to get the first. That sets up a 1st and 17. Following that play, on 1st and 17, Hollineer is rushed by 2, and Jasmine Henry leaps as Neer throws it and intercepts it and goes ahead and sets Weber up in the red zone here. And so here we go, Weber with the 1st and 13 in the red zone. Some big plays to get them going. Before they could run the first down play, there's a false start, so now it's 1st and 18, but it does not matter. Wilson gets a snap and squeezes one into the end zone just beyond the hands of the star safety Tashumba Washington, and she finds Cheyenne Duran, who brings it in to make it 18-7. A sensational throw here by Sam Wilson, just using her eyes to move Tashumba Washington just a little bit before throwing it right behind her here to go ahead and give them the 2-score lead. On the PAT, Wilson rolls right and throws it to Caitlin Sigmundy here, who I think it looks like she's in, but they say she's stopped short. So there you go there. But regardless, Weber with all the momentum in this one, leading 18-7 in the third quarter. Now, St. Thomas not out of it, but they got to get going here to start. It's third down, and Hollineer throws the check down to Maya Salas to go ahead and give them some key yards on a first down, which were important because that 1st and 2nd down play were not exactly great. So here we go. first down here, 1st and 13 actually, with about 2 minutes left in the third. Holly Neer throws the out to Leah Cruz, who jukes and tight ropes up the sideline for a big St. Thomas gain to make it 1st and 7 past midfield. That one going for about 26 yards. A lot of yards after the catch made by Leah Cruz there. So there you go, 1st and 7. A penalty will then be thrown on Weber. So now it's 1st and 17 in the red zone. And so 1st and 17 here. Anir gets a snap, throws it to Tyler Bryant, who makes it 2nd and 3. Right then, Weber would call their first timeout of the half here, but it would not matter. Out of the timeout, Holly Neer gets a snap, goes back to Tyler Bryant on the same slant here. This is literally the same play they've scored on all game long, and they would score, making it a more manageable lead here. But it would be 18-13 as St. Thomas cuts into the lead. Now, on the extra point, Holly Neer is sacked once again by Jasmine Henry, a clutch one here, her 3rd of the day, to go ahead and end that. Now, Weber, they would take over, but let's go ahead and fast forward to the 4th quarter as this drive would move on here. Weber would find themselves with a 1st and 20 just past midfield, and here's what would happen. Wilson scrambles right and then pitches it to Sammy Gonzalez, who spins out of a tackle and gets a solid gain of 12, setting up 2nd down here. And on 2nd, Wilson tries to find Mello, but it is thrown out of bounds smartly, as if it was thrown on time, the DB would have picked it. So that brings up 3rd and 8 here. On 3rd down, Wilson tries to check it to Gonzalez, but it's too low, so it's incomplete. And so now it's 4th down here, and there's a little bit of drama here. The St. Thomas coaches yelling at head coach Jeff Molesky over at Weber to go ahead and just call their timeout instead of letting this clock run. But this is the right decision here, as you want to use up as much of that clock as possible. And so eventually Weber would call their 2nd timeout, using up a lot of that clock, and they would decide to go for it here on 4th down here, 4th and 8. And here's what happens. They go ahead and cook up a pretty nice play here. And so on the snap, Wilson gets it, rolls left, and finds a wide open Cheyenne Duran and throws it to her in rhythm, but it is dropped. And so that will be a turnover on downs. If she brought it in, obviously it would have been a 1st down in the red zone, but it definitely potentially also would have been a touchdown that would have put Weber back up 2 scores. And so with that being said, turnover on downs, St. Thomas takes over with a 1st and 12 approaching midfield. 1st down throw, incomplete. 2nd down throw, it's a slant to Tyler Bryant. Surprise, surprise. But she's stopped immediately here. For the most part, gets 5 yards before she is stopped, though. So it sets up a 3rd and 7 here as they approach a midfield. And Holly Neer throws a curl to Tyler Bryant. She makes it 4th and 3 on a gain of 4. St. Thomas at this point would go ahead and call their 2nd timeout with 7:32 left, trying to talk about it. And then out of the timeout, it's 4th down here. Holly Neer tries to find Kaylee Miller on the curl, but it is just out of reach. Just a bad throw, honestly. And so it's a turnover on downs. Weber takes over past midfield with a 1st and 17. And here's what happens here. Wilson throws the swing to Sammy Gonzalez. She spins, gets some nice yards after the catch, setting up a 2nd and 6. Following that, Wilson would throw the swing again to Gonzalez, but she's not able to spin out of this one. Only gets 3 this time, so that sets up 3rd down. And on 3rd, Wilson rolls right, and tries to find Leah Bailey, but this throw is just off the mark. So now it's 4th down here with about 4:50 left in this game. And obviously they're going to go for it, trying to get the dagger here, or work towards the dagger here. And Wilson gets snapped, evades the pressure, throws one over the middle, but it is picked off by Mayeli Gayon, the linebacker for St. Thomas. And so that sets up St. Thomas with the 1st and 3 here, still in that 1st zone. Not the worst decision in hindsight. Obviously, if you're Weber, you probably don't want to punt it here. You got to go for it here. So it's basically like a really short punt. But 1st and 3 for St. Thomas. Here's what happens. Holly Neer, she gets a snap, finds Leah Cruz on the drag, makes a player miss, and then gets a solid gain here. A nice gain of, I want to say, 12 yards. So now it's 1st and 11, getting that 1st down there. And on 1st down, Holly Neer throws to the flat to Jada Graham, but Gonzalez gets a hand on it, jumping the route, almost picking it once more. but it is incomplete. So it's second down here, and on second, Holly rolls right and tries to throw it to Cruz on the run, but it is just behind her, and so it is dropped. She's only able to kind of reach out a hand for it, but like I said, just an underthrown pass. So that brings up 3rd and 11 here. Holly near gets snap, rolls, and throws it deep to Kaylee Miller, who goes up and comes down with the ball here. Not the greatest adjustment by the DB. I want to say it's either Riley Bolser or Caitlin Sigmundy, but they tried to play for the interception and they were just wrong, as Kaylee Miller made the right adjustment coming down with the ball and then goes 49 yards to the house to go ahead and give St. Thomas that 19-18 lead here. A great play by Kaylee Miller and a good job by Holly Neer just getting it up there for a Playmaker to make the play. On the PAT, Holly Neer rolls right and overthrows it. The PAT is no good. And so Weber takes over with 2:04 left, only down by 1 point. But St. Thomas with a lot of momentum, as that touchdown would save this game for them. And on the first play, 1st and 6 here, Wilson drops back, tries to throw the out route, but it is intercepted by Rayona Baker, who doesn't only intercept it, but she takes it to the house for a big-time pick 6 to make it 25-18. On the PAT, it's overthrown, so it doesn't matter. But regardless, St. Thomas has a 7-point lead with about 1:45 left. Weber's not out of it. They could obviously still score, but they would also have to get the PAT where there's some pressure. And so here we go. First down, Wilson throws it. It's dropped, unfortunately. Second down here, Wilson finds Caitlin Sigmundy on the curl. That gives them a 1st and 15. Following that first down, it's incomplete. So that brings up second down. 2nd and 15, Wilson throws it. It's dropped. So now it brings up 3rd and 15 here. Wilson checks it down to Bria Cam. She gets some solid yards here, but is still short. 4th and 5. 4th down here. Obviously, they got to go for it here. Wilson gets snapped, evades, tries to throw it, but it is knocked down by Lanaya Leone. And in frustration, Wilson kind of throws her here. And so obviously that's a personal foul on Weber. They'll decline it as it's a turnover on downs. And St. Thomas wins a comeback victory here. 25-18. A big one to win. First off, just to not get upset, but at one point you got to remember this was the same St. Thomas team that was down 18-7 here in the 3rd quarter. They would come back to win 25-18 in a big time game. Player of the game, I think, has to be Rayona Baker. That pick 6 put a lot of pressure on Weber there at the end, and they just weren't quite able to respond. So played some good football down the stretch. Like I said, had some struggles there pretty early on and whatnot, but they found a way to get it done, right? They have the playmakers to go ahead and get it done and beat this team, and that's what they did, and they won it. So there you go, St. Thomas winning big, 25-18. For Weber, I mean, they had it. It was a 2-score game. They had another opportunity, which I really think was the turning point, where they dropped a potential touchdown that would have made it a 2-score game again after St. Thomas replied back. And by that point, I don't think STU would have had enough time to go ahead and score twice to tie this one up. And so just a lot of missed opportunities. I listened to the post-game interview with head coach Jeff Molesky, and he just said they dropped that one. That was one they definitely should have won. And it's a heartbreaker. It's one of those games that is heart-wrenching. They had it. Would have been a huge game for them over a big-time opponent in St. Thomas. But it just didn't work out at the end there. There were a lot of mistakes that they made in that 4th quarter, basically, that just wasn't good. Obviously wasn't good, because that's why they lost there. And they had them in positions where they could have won, and it just came down to a couple plays there. So that's obviously tough for them. This Weber team's well coached. I don't know if they're a contender, but I think they are a team that could upset some teams and ruin the tournament, or, ruin a day for a program out there for sure. I just think right now, I don't know. They had this game and they lost it. To lose it in this way, you got to be a contender. You got to win this one and finish, right? And so right now they're still a good team and whatnot. They're going to beat some good ones out there, but I wouldn't necessarily call them a contender. For St. Thomas, I think there's definitely still some red flags here. To be straight up, this offense really struggled here, and we are more than halfway through the season, and they just haven't figured it out. This is the most experienced squad with arguably the most talent that has struggled the most this season offensively. And so it's definitely not the greatest sign. Defensively, they played lights out. Defense won them this game, to be honest with you, playing as well as they did, getting that pick six at the end to seal this one. And at the end, winning on that last drive there. And, you got to feel good about that offensively. You're still trying to figure some things out, right? And so we'll see where St. Thomas is, but for now, they're going to enjoy this one. They go ahead and enjoy this 25-18 win over Weber. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about this number 3 Thomas hosting number 14 Reinhardt matchup. Thomas playing some of these teams, a couple of the teams in Georgia here this week here. And so let's go ahead and hop into this one. Thomas goes ahead and starts on offense. Alexa Wilson in at quarterback, which does matter because she was temporarily benched last game against Keiser, and so they go with her to start here. And here's how it goes down. Wilson goes ahead and finds Aaliyah Wood on the track to make it 2nd and 2. Following that, she would check it down to Margarita Pena, who would then try to pitch it to Kiana Cole, who's not able to bring in the pitch, but she's still able to get the first down, so it's 1st and 17. Also, I believe Margarita Pena was questionable going into this game, being a little bit sick, but was all good to go, so that's good to see there. But anyways, 1st and 17 there. Following that, Wilson finds a Cole in the flat. She only gets 2 yards here, so that brings up 2nd and 15. But then following that play, it's 2nd down here. Wilson gets a snap, is scanning, then decides to scramble left and gets some really good yards. Gets about 12 here, setting up a 3rd down play. And on 3rd, Wilson throws a slant to Brown, but Caroline Small gets a hand in there and breaks it up. So that brings up 4th and 3. And Thomas going for it early here, right at midfield, basically, at this point. And on 4th down, Wilson scrambles left and gets the 1st down and more past midfield. A nice gain of about 13 here. And so that sets up a 1st and 10 on the edge of this red zone. And once more on 1st down, Wilson scrambles just right up the middle, gets about 5 here. And so then on 2nd, Wilson throws the deep out to Key Knight, who makes a physical catch here to give them a 1st and 17 in the red zone as this offense is moving. Let's go ahead and fast forward a couple plays. It's 3rd and 10. And on 3rd down, Wilson rolls right and tries to throw it to Aaliyah Wood, who's able to stick a hand out trying to get it, but it is dropped, unfortunately. It hits her hands and she's not able to bring it in, so that brings up 4th down. Thomas calls a timeout right here at 3:50 on this first drive, which is very reminiscent of that Keiser game. They did something similar there on 4th down on their first drive, but this time on 4th down here, Wilson gets snapped and throws the fade route right to Aaliyah Wood, who makes an all-hands catch here for the touchdown to make it 6-0. An excellent play here to get them on the board. On the PAT, Wilson throws a slant to Brown, but unfortunately it's dropped there, but Thomas takes the lead. Now Reinhardt, they take over with about 3:27 left, but this drive does not go well for them. That is outside of an Alicia Wyatt to Jada Vick connection here, which was good for first. Other than that, it'd be 1st and 19 and pretty much stay at 19 for the rest of this drive, as they would not be able to complete another pass or get any yards. And so Reinhardt would eventually punt it. Thomas would take over with about a minute left here. And let's go ahead and actually just fast forward to the 2nd quarter at 2nd and 4 for Thomas. I believe they just got a big gain past a solid gain past midfield. So it's 2nd and 4 approaching the red zone. And on 2nd down, Wilson finds Aaliyah Wood for a solid gain, and most importantly, the 1st down in the red zone for the 2nd time today. Now, in the red zone, Wilson finds Key Knight near the left sideline for a solid gain for about 5. on second. Wilson then rolls right and finds Giselle Jones on the post to make it 12-0 on a nice throw there. On the PAT, Wilson drops back and fits it into a tight window to NAIA Wood here, but it is knocked away, and so it stays at 12-0. Now, Reinhardt, they take over with about 10-19 left, and the struggles continue here. After a first down once more to Jada Vick on the hitch, it is, let's go to 1st and 18 here. Alicia Wyatt hits a quick hitter to Ebony Cooper for about 2. And then following that on 2nd down, Wyatt tries to throw it. Janae Scott tips the ball at the line as she is rushing. And then Caitlin Herb gets the interception and is pulled down here. It is a penalty, but they decline it as they would start in the red zone for this drive. So here we go. Thomas with the 1st and 15 here on 1st down. Wilson gets a snap, backs up, and checks it down to Kiana Cole, who has open space, racing towards the left side here, and reaches the edge, almost trips, pulling a Daniel Jones as she was wide open, but recovers and gets in there for the touchdown to put them up 18-0. And then on the PAT, Wilson finds Knight in the flats, who was already in motion, to make it 19-0, their first PAT of the day. Now Reinhardt, they take over with 7:41, not quite out of it yet, but trying to get something going, but this offense continues to struggle, as well as this defense for Thomas playing really well. On 3rd and 4, Janae Scott tips up another pass and it's almost picked off, but Wyatt luckily gets in the way to prevent her from catching it, and so instead of that being an interception and them starting in the red zone, they go 3 and out and punt it. Now Thomas, they take over with the 1st and 1 near midfield. On 1st down, Wilson throws a slant to Amiri Logan that would get them past midfield and get them a good gain here of about, I would say, 11 or so. And so then on 1st and 10, Wilson goes deep on the seam to Giselle Jones, who is wide open and takes it to the house to make it 25-0. On the PAT, Wilson finds Amiri Logan on the slant to make it 26-0, and just like that, this one is over. Thomas ends up winning this one 46-0. My player of the game, I think, has to be Alexa Wilson. She had a great bounce back win here, going 16 of 20 for 122 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. They even got in the freshman in after her to get some garbage time here, and got some plays in. 6 of 14 for 44 yards and a touchdown. That's Tara Lorente. Also had 22 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in this one, so that's big time. As far as receiving goes, Kiana Cole led with 5 receptions, also led with 49 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Giselle Jones had 3 receptions for 33 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then NAIA Wood had those 3 receptions, 20 yards, and that big time touchdown. On defense, Thomas was rolling. Maddie Hoagland here, the freshman, had 6 tackles, tackle for loss, and an interception here. Giselle Jones also had a pick this game. Caitlin Herb had a sack. And actually, I believe, now that I'm looking at this, this should definitely be a Caitlin Herb interception as well. Because I'm pretty sure it was her who picked it, but I guess it is what it is there. But anyways, there you go there. Those are the stats for Thomas. Let me talk about the Reinhardt stats here. Alicia Wyatt, 17 of 31 for 74 yards and 2 picks. Just really struggling in this one. Jada Vick got in there as well at the end and threw some passes. Went 5 of 6 for 32 yards, but did throw a pick. Jada Vick with 5 rushing yards. NAIA Showers with 3, and then Wyatt with negative 11, but I think that's just because she got sacked. As far as receiving goes, Kalia Wimbush with 4 receptions for 29, Nia Moore 2 for 28, Ebony Cooper 6 for 19, and then Jada Vick 3 for 14. Just not able to get a lot going there against this really tough Thomas defense. As far as stats go, Deshae Branham 7 tackles, tackle for loss in this one. Ebony Cooper had 2 TFLs and a breakup as well. So there you go there. Thomas, they had a good bounce back win. This is definitely a game they should have won, and that's what they did. Got out to a hot start. Offense looked really good, looked really sharp here. So there you go there. Looks like it's all handled from here on out, and I don't think there's any quarterback controversy. So we could go ahead and put that narrative, I guess, if you could call it that, to a rest there. For Reinhardt, hey, just a young team here. This is honestly probably a team that needs to continue to develop this passing game. Alicia Wyatt's good. There are some plays You could tell she's a little bit flustered, right? Playing against one of the best defenses in the entire country, and so she just has to continue to learn and grow from there. That's really all you can do against a team like Thomas. So there you go there. But, still something to build on moving forward. But like I said, Thomas goes ahead and takes care of business, winning 46-0. Now let's go ahead and move on and talk about one of the games of the week here. Number 5, Ottawa, going to number 6, Kansas Wesleyan. This was a game that was rescheduled from last week on Sunday, and so they'd play it here on Thursday. And, going into this game, this is a big one. This definitely would decide who has control of the KCAC, considering Ottawa just blew out Baker the day before. So there you go there. Both teams coming off of a game the day before, too, as Kansas Wesleyan blew out Southwestern on Wednesday. And all-time, this is a big rivalry game here because all-time, Kansas Wesleyan has never beaten Ottawa, but I'm pretty sure they've seen them in the conference championship every single year, and unfortunately has lost to them every single year, as well as losing all of the regular season matchups. But every year it gets a little bit closer. Last year was pretty close, and it would be in this game this year, the first matchup of the season. And so let's hop into it. First quarter here, Kansas Wesleyan, they get the ball, and they begin a pretty methodical drive here. Chihiro Owada in at quarterback, throws it, and it's deflected on the first play, but Angel Roman makes the diving catch to go ahead and give them the first down. First and 15 to go ahead and kickstart this drive. On first down here, Owada then finds Whitfield on the curl to make it 2nd and 10 for a small gain there. She then, on second down, hits Roman on the hitch to make it 3rd and 5. Then on third, she finds Corn DeQuee on the curl to make it first down past the midfield, 1st and 19 here. Then they experience their first drop, but following that on second down, Owada throws the hitch to Whitfield, who makes it 3rd and 14. And then on third down, Owada throws a dot on the corner route to Jasmine Whitfield to make it a 1st and 16 in the red zone as they continue to drive down this field. On 1st and 16 here in the red zone, Owada threads the needle, but it is incomplete and knocked away here. A PI penalty is thrown on Ottawa there, though, so now it's 1st and 7. First down here, Owada finds Roman on the out route, who cuts it upfield and almost scores, but makes it 2nd and 1. Then they go ahead, and there's a hard count here, and Ottawa jumps, and so now it's 2nd and inches. And on second down, Owada throws the out route to Roman. It's there, but it's incomplete. Really good coverage here by Ottawa's defense. And so that brings up third down here, where Chihiro Owada throws that same out, basically, but this time to Corn DeQuee, who catches it to make it 6-0 on a very methodical and beautiful drive. They were going tempo here for the most part, and we're just getting after it. And so love to see this fast start from Kansas Wesleyan. On the PAT, Chihiro Owada throws it over the middle to Jayla House, but unfortunately it is dropped, and so it stays at 6-0. Now Ottawa takes over with 6:32 left here, and they have Addie Orsburn in at utility for this game, by the way. And so to start, Madison Carrera goes to Addie Orsburn, who is stopped for only a gain of 1, so that brings up 2nd and 5 here. But on second down, Carrera finds Camacho on the curl to give them a big time 1st and 9. But on 1st and 9 here, Carrera drops back and is immediately sacked by Kylie Douglas, so now it's 2nd and 19. But Carrera gets some of that back by throwing the out to Jocelyn Camacho, bringing up 3rd and 10. And then on third down, Carrera rolls right and throws towards the right sideline to Camacho, but it is just short. But interesting enough, the refs call a targeting penalty, which I don't know. That can't be right because it's flag football, but I think they maybe mean illegal contact or roughing the passer. I don't know, but I don't believe there's targeting. I didn't really even see any contact on the receiver side of things here. But anyways, it will be thrown against Kansas Wesleyan, so it will be a 1st and 10 past midfield. So there you go there. Now, on 1st and 10, Carrera finds Camacho on the curl. She gets another first down here to make it 1st and 19 in the red zone. First and 19 here. Carrera finds Cynthia Holmes on the curl, who makes it 2nd and 9 on a nice gain there. Then she throws the out route to the freshman Marley Spielberg for a small gain of 3. And then on 3rd down, Carrera rolls right and finds Camacho in the back of the end zone to tie this game at 6-6. On the PAT, Carrera throws the check down to Osborne, who wins the battle to the edge there, just speeds on out of there to make it 7-6. Ottawa responding right away here. Now, Kansas Wesleyan, they take over, looking to respond with 2:23 left in the first quarter. It starts with an out route to Angel Roman for that first down. That makes it 1st and 19, though. But on 1st and 19, Awada throws the quick hitch to DeQuee to make it 2nd and 13. On 2nd down, Awada evades the pressure from, I believe it's Sue Kaufman here, and finds Angel Roman on the curl, who makes a nice contested catch here to go ahead and get them some yards and make it 3rd and 4 near midfield. And then on 3rd down, Awada rolls right, resets, launches one deep to Jada Wilson, who's wide open, and she brings in a tough catch, a nice catch to make it a gain of 30 yards. She's pulled down pretty much immediately, but this was a huge chunk play to give them a 1st and 14 in the red zone. Now, let's go ahead and go to the second quarter. 1st and 14 in the red zone. Awada throws the out route to Tori Darshik, I want to say. Okay. This is so messed up. But I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. I know you told me how to say it right. That is my best attempt there. Lodarsek. Either way, throws it to Tori on the out route. That makes it 2nd and 11 here. On 2nd down, Awada just feeding off of these out routes. Throws another one here to Whitfield, who gets 6. And then on 3rd and 5 here, Awada just rifles one on the out, just putting it on the money to Angel Roman, who has no choice but to catch this dot here to make it 12-7 here as they retake the lead. On the PAT, Chihiro Awada rolls right and tries to find Tori, throws it to her, but unfortunately it is dropped again. The second drop on their second PAT attempt, but still they have the 12-7 lead. Now Ottawa takes over with about 10:46 left here, looking to respond. A touchdown here would automatically give them the lead because of these missed PAT opportunities. And so here we go. Carrera gets the snap, throws the drag route to Camacho, who catches the low throw here near the right sideline. That gives them a nice 1st and 16 here to get them started. Following that, Carrera throws the out to Holmes to make it 2nd and 14. Then she checks it down to Addie Osborne, who accelerates, making some players miss, but is called just short of the 1st down, 3rd and 1 near midfield. And on 3rd and 1, they snap it to Carrera, and she goes ahead and scrambles to make it 1st and 14, this time past midfield. Now, it's 8:31 here, and Ottawa's kind of driving, so Kansas Wesleyan calls their first timeout at 8:31. Then out of the timeout, here's what happens. 1st down here for Ottawa. Carrera throws to Maddie Spielberg, who then tries to throw it back to Carrera, some 2-quarterback option, but it is well covered here, and the pass back to Carrera drops incomplete. So there you go. There, just very good defense on this one. Everything was covered, so that was probably the best case scenario for Ottawa there. Following that, it's 2nd and 14 here still. Carrera throws to the flats to Holmes here, who makes it 3rd and 6, making some players miss on those yards after the catch. On 3rd down, Carrera then rolls right and then reverses fields, trying to throw it over the middle, but Alexa Mansur gets up there and knocks it down. A big play here because it would have been complete, but Mansur is able to disrupt that, and so now it's 4th and 6. And before they run a play on 4th down, Ottawa goes ahead and calls their first timeout at 6:21 left to talk about it. Out of the timeout, here we go, 4th and 6. Carrera gets a snap, rolls left, and tries to throw it over the middle across her body, but 2 KW defenders are able to read it well and collide on that to break it up. It looked like it might have hit the hands of the receiver here, but those 2 defenders are just able to force that incomplete. So that's a big turnover on downs. Kansas Wesleyan takes over with 5:45 left, a 1st and 14, a chance to potentially go up 2 scores here, which is huge against a team like Ottawa. And so here we go on 1st down. Out route thrown to Whitfield, the bread and butter this game. She goes ahead and makes it 2nd and 8. Following that, Awada rolls right and finds her center, Nakia Lloyd, who gets the 1st down here. I believe that's I believe, yeah. So it's a first down pass to midfield, just barely though, 1st and 19. On 1st and 19, Awada kind of throws it a little low to Angel Roman on the out, but she kind of bobbles it and Sue Kaufman intercepts it. There is some controversy about whether she, just stole it away from her, which, I mean, there's no forced fumbles in flag football, but Roman just she was just not able to secure this one and kind of bobbled it and allowed Kaufman to get that opportunity to take it away. And so there you go there. Ottawa gets a bit of a break here and a 1st and 1 here right near midfield with about 3:42 left, so plenty of time. And so here's what happens. Carrera rolls right, throws a drag to Spielberg. She gets them past midfield. Now it's 1st and 17. After an overthrow, it's now 2nd down here, and Carrera scrambles, but it looks like an illegal contact penalty will make it 2nd and 27. Just a tough penalty to have if you're Ottawa. And so 2nd and 27, Carrera gets a snap. Those kind of a bad ball here, but it's caught by a diving Linkus. She's not able to run after the catch because she has to focus on catching this one. So now it's 3rd and 22 with under 2 minutes left. Carrera, after the 2-minute warning, throws the comeback route to Camacho, who makes it 4th and 16, and she's able to get out of bounds here, so it's stuck at a 1 minute 28. Ottawa calls a timeout anyways, their second of the half, and then they decide to punt it. And so they punt it, and Kansas Wesleyan takes over with the 1st and 14, about a 1 minute 24 here, so some time to get something going. And so to start, they throw the out route to Jasmine Whitfield, which has been there all day. That makes it 2nd and 11. After a drop, it's now 3rd and 11 with about 42 seconds left. Iwata throws the out route, this time right to Whitfield, and she gets them the 1st down, a 1st and 19 with 36 seconds left. She also gets out of bounds here, which stops the clock. Now 1st down here, Kansas Wesleyan needing a big play. Iwata throws it up the seam to DeQuee, and it's a perfect throw here. She would have been gone, but it is dropped. A tough drop here, keeping it at 2nd and 19. And from there, Kansas Wesleyan is just not able to get anything going here. Awada would throw a nice post route to DeQuee later on, but she would be immediately stopped after crossing past midfield. And so Kansas Wesleyan gets nothing there. They still have the lead, though, 12-7, but definitely one that could go away, as Ottawa will start with the ball here in the 3rd quarter. And so here's what happens. Carrera takes a shot down the left sideline, but it's well covered and it's also overthrown, so it's incomplete. 2nd down here, Carrera throws the drag route to Alyssa Linkus, who stops short, but then tries to lateral it. I think she stopped before that, though, so now it's 3rd and 1 here. And on 3rd down, Carrera gets it to Orsburn, who gets a pretty good gain of about, I want to say about 11 or 12. It's like 1st and 9 here. 1st down here for Ottawa. Carrera checks it down to Linkus, who then laterals it to Holmes, who gets a pretty huge gain here of about 19. So that'll go past midfield, and that'll be 1st and 10 on this play. And on 1st down, Carrera throws the out to Marley Spielberg for 5. On 2nd, Carrera then rolls right and throws a dart to Alyssa Linkus to make it 1st and 17 in the red zone, as Ottawa is cooking. Now 1st down in the red zone, Carrera throws the curl to Holmes here, making it 2nd and 13. Following that, Carrera throws a slant to Camacho to make it 3rd and 4. A nice chunk play there. Then on 3rd down, Carrera rolls right, buying some time, and finds Cynthia Holmes, who makes a tough catch to give them the 13-12 lead. Relatively well covered, but Cynthia Holmes is just like that. And so now Ottawa has the lead. On the PAT, Carrera finds Linkus kind of high here. It looks like she caught it and then dropped it, but I guess she drops it before she lands, so it is marked as a drop. They still have the lead, though, by 1 point, 13-12. Now, Kansas Wesleyan takes over with 7:24 left here, and here's what happens. Awada finds Roman in the flats. She goes ahead and gets a couple yards. It's now 2nd and 2. On 2nd down here, Awada throws the hitch to Whitfield, who gets about some nice yards after the catch, about 9-ish, 10-ish on this one. It's now 1st and 13 here. On 1st down, Awada pumps and then resets and throws it deep to Wilson. A little bit of a wobbly throw, but it gets to Wilson, who's wide open again, and makes a nice diving catch to make it 1st and 9 on a 24-yard gain past midfield. On 1st and 9, Awada tries to throw the post here, but it is just off the mark here, so now it's 2nd down. On 2nd, Awada evades the pressure, rolls left, and throws a dot to Whitfield on the dig route late here in the window, and she catches it in stride and gets in there, making it 1st and 6, and doesn't get in there as in get in for a touchdown, but gets in the red zone here, 1st and 6 in the red zone. And so 1st down here, Iwata checks it down to Lloyd, who gets them some yards, about 4 on this one. And then on 2nd and 2, Iwata drops back and rifles one over the middle to Angel Roman, keeping her eye disciplined to make it 18-13 as Kansas Wesleyan retakes the lead with 3:14 left in the third. On the PAT, Iwata fires one over the middle here, but Jada Wilson kind of falls down right before this one's thrown. And so another PAT is missed here and is no good. Now Ottawa takes over with about 3:14 left here, and they put together a pretty nice drive, checking it down to Osborne for their first down, a 1st and 19. Following that, Carrera checks it down to Holmes here, who gets some nice yards. And on top of that, the refs called a holding penalty on KW, so now it's 1st and 4 near midfield. Carrera then checks it down to Osborne again, who cuts it upfield for another pretty solid gain, 1st and 17. So 2 first downs to Osborne here. Let's go ahead and fast forward a couple plays. Let's go to 3rd and 10. Carrera throws a post to Mandolin Scalisi, who brings in the tough catch and gets them in the red zone to make it 1st and 18. And that's where we pick up here at the top of the 4th quarter. Ottawa with a 1st and 18 here. Actually, let's say 2nd and 18 because 1st down was a drop. On 2nd and 18, Carrera checks it down to Osborne, who gets maybe 2. Not a lot on this one. Great defense by KWU. On 3rd and 14 here, Carrera rolls left, tries to throw it to, I think, Osborne, but it's overthrown here. She would have been open. I don't know if she would have scored, but she would have had a chance at it. So now it's 4th and 14 here. And on 4th down, Carrera fires past to Scalisi, but it's a little too close to the sideline. So she would have been stopped anyways, but she ends up getting her hands on it and it's dropped anyways. It's like 5 or 6 yards short of the end zone, so it's a turnover on downs. Now KW takes over with a 1st and 15. A score here would probably put it away, but ideally they want to take up some time. And so they go ahead and start with a check down to Lloyd to make it 1st and 17. After a drop, it'd be 2nd and 17 here. And on 2nd down, Iwata throws it out to Whitfield, who's kind of backpedaling up the sideline for more yards here before falling out of bounds. And so now it's 3rd and 9 here. On 3rd down, Iwata throws it out to Angel Roman, who gets past midfield, and that gives them a 1st and 19 as Kansas Wesleyan looking really content, just nickel and diming up and down the field here. 1st and 19 as the clock is ticking. Iwata finds Lloyd on the drag route, who gets about 5, setting up 2nd and 14. On 2nd down, Iwata then tries to go back to Lloyd, but Sue Kaufman breaks that one up, so now it's 3rd down here. On 3rd, Iwata tries to rifle one to Roman on the corner route, but Haley McKay is there, covers it really well, and knocks it away for Ottawa, setting up a 4th and 14. Now, 4th down here, obviously they're going for it. Iwata throws it deep to Whitfield for a big-time catch to make it 1st and 15 in the red zone. A huge 19-yard play here. But then on 1st down, a bad snap just right over the head of Iwata would put them out of the red zone. So now it's 2nd and 24. On 2nd down, Iwata goes deep, but it's incomplete there. Well covered, bringing up 3rd down. And on 3rd, Iwata throws towards the left sideline to Angel Roman. And even though it's kind of high here and she's open for the touchdown, it is dropped. Another bad drop by KW. But lucky enough, a holding call is called on, well, I guess not lucky enough. More lucky for Ottawa. A holding call is called on KW, but obviously they decline it. So now it's 4th and 24 here. And, I mean, you're not going to punt it here. So Iwata gets the snap, goes deep, and it's almost picked, but they call a penalty against Ottawa for illegal contact. So now it's a new set of downs. Also, they move up 10 yards. So it's 1st and 14, now actually in the red zone, as the clock continues to tick here, which absolutely kills Ottawa's chances. But, you know, if they stop him here, then they're sitting pretty okay. And so here's what happens. 1st and 14, Iwata throws it to the slot, but it's dropped here. A tough one here. And so now I believe it should be 1:58 because it's inside 2 minutes, so the clock should stop. But I think it rolls down to 1:38 anyways. It's a little bit of an error on KW's part here, but anyways, back to it. Second down here. It's another bad snap. So now it's 3rd and 27. Again, it feels like. And Ottawa calls their first timeout at about 1:27 here. Out of the timeout, though, Awada throws a hitch to Dupuis, who pitches it left to Roman, who gets a nice couple of yards here, stays in bounds to let this clock continue to roll. But now it's 4th and 14 here. Ottawa does call their second timeout at 1:13. But 4th and 14, here's what happens. Awada gets a snap and finds Wilson over the middle, who dives to make the catch, and it's there, but he is very well short of the end zone, so it doesn't matter. It's a turnover on downs, and Ottawa gets the ball back with 1:08 left here, so still plenty of time. They have one timeout, and here's how it goes down. Carrera throws a hitch to Bailey Hodgins. She makes it 2nd and 9 here with about 1:05 left. Following that, Carrera throws the out route. Bailey Hodgins gets out, so it stops at 105. Then on 2nd down, Carrera throws the curl to Tatiana Dos Santos to make it 3rd and 1. At this point, there's about 58 seconds left here. On 3rd down, Carrera checks it down to Orsburn. Roman pulls her flag pretty quickly. They get the first down, but time is ticking. On 1st and 19, Carrera then throws to Hodgins, who is stopped in bounds on the hitch. So it's 2nd and 13. Clock's still running. On 2nd down, Carrera throws the out to Dos Santos, who is stopped in bounds once more. So now it's 3rd here. Clock still going. Carrera finds Holmes on the curl, who makes it 4th and 2 here. And there's about 15 seconds left as Holmes is able to get out of bounds. Just a lot of time wasted, though. But 4th and 2, Carrera on this important 4th down gets a snap. Takes just too much time trying to make a decision, tries to throw it to Hodgins on this hitch, but it is too low of a pass and is dropped. And so that'll be a turnover on downs. And for the first time in program history, Kansas Wesleyan beats Ottawa and takes control of the conference, winning 18-13. Playmaker of the game here has to be Chihiro Awada, who had 3 touchdowns in this big-time game. Now, before we go to reactions, let's go ahead and talk about some stats here. Chihiro Awada, 33 of 46 for 302 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Also had 11 rushing yards there. As far as receiving go, Jasmine Whitfield led the team with 11 receptions, 121 yards, all on mostly out routes here, mind you, but still putting in a lot of work there. Jada Wilson right behind her, 3 receptions for 64 yards. Angel Roman, 9 receptions for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then Corin Dupuis, 5 receptions, 26 yards and a touchdown. Nakia Lloyd also had 4 receptions and 26 yards as his offense was clicking. On defense here, though, Angel Roman with 9 total flag pulls. Alexa Mansour right behind her with 6 pulls and a key breakup there. Kylie Douglas with the lone sack of this game as KWU wins this one. For Ottawa, not too bad here. Madison Carrera, 34 of 42 for 244 yards and 2 touchdowns, was sacked 1 time. Addie Orsburn had 3 rushing yards. That was their lead rusher. As far as receiving go, Jaslyn Camacho, 8 receptions, 63 yards and a touchdown. Cynthia Holmes, 7 receptions, 60 yards and a touchdown. Alyssa Linkus, 5 for 36. Addie Orsburn, 6 for 35 in this one. On defense, Jukani Washington was kind of cooking here. 11 tackles here. And it credits her with the interception. I'm pretty sure that was Sue Kaufman, though, who got the interception. So there you go there. And yeah, I mean, Ottawa, they drop their record 4th game of the season here. They've never lost 4 games in a season, so this is a big one. They've never lost a conference game, so it's definitely tough here. Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about Ottawa here first. Offensively, they just struggled, down the line here. Couldn't get too many big splash plays. And I mean, I'm just looking at it right here. They got into the red zone at the top of the 4th quarter, but just couldn't get anything going there, really hurting themselves, not looking as sharp as they could be. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, only got into the red zone 3 times, which isn't bad, but they only scored on 2 of those 3 times. I believe they had like 5 or 6 drives, though, and that's just kind of tough. Defensively, Ottawa was struggling just a little bit. The amount of out routes they allowed, and I mean, obviously you got to let something give here, but they just could not make those plays on those, second, third, fourth, and longs there. And honestly, I think there could be a good, argument for Kansas Wesleyan potentially even beating them by more, as KWU dropped all their PAT attempts or did not make all of their PAT attempts, and so there's a good chance Ottawa could have won this one, but unfortunately just let it slip here on the road. So there you go there. Now, I will say this about Ottawa, because they've won 3 national championships with basically the same crew and whatnot, you can never really count them out. I think because of those 3 national championships, at least for this season, no matter how many games they lose, for me personally, I'm going to continue to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? They're going to play them again, KWU again, here at the end of the regular season, and then I assume they're going to probably meet up in the conference championship or before the conference championship, something like that, right? But this just isn't the greatest. I mean, it's a loss. It's a loss, and it's not like, they just beat themselves, because I feel like Kansas Wesleyan also beat themselves at times too. But they still won, which is, it's what matters, right? It's what matters. And so for Ottawa here, definitely not counting them out, but this was definitely a tough go, and it kind of went how maybe I thought it would. Against Baker, I was pretty hopeful. I mean, they blew them out. And so going into this game, I was like, well, I don't know. This could be not a close game. And it was one. I mean, it was a close game. But unfortunately, they still lost. And so, we'll see how they continue to respond here. Still a long season. Like I said, 3 national championships. They earn the benefit of the doubt no matter how many losses they get. Just straight up, right? But eventually, you do got to start winning these big-time games. And we're past the halfway point of the season. I mean, excuses are running out, right? So there you go there. For KWU, this is a big win. 18-13 here. They take control of the conference. I assume they're probably going to beat Baker here. It's kind of weird that they lost to Baker by 2 while Ottawa has like 50-piece them the last 2 times. And so KWU technically needs to beat Baker here, but I kind of have them favored in that one moving forward. For now, though, KWU does, I mean, they're 9-1, 10-1, I want to say right now. Let me just go ahead and check here real quick. Yep, 10-1 at the time I'm recording this, which is big time here. Their one loss, like I said, was to Baker by only 2. And so there's a good chance that, they could be the regular season conference champs. Obviously, that is not what you want to settle for. Ultimately, you want to settle for the national champs, but you got to take care of business in conference. So they got to beat Baker here in the next couple weeks. And then they got to beat Ottawa again, probably, to secure that regular season championship. And then at the end of April, you got to win. Yeah, just straight up, you got to win that conference championship. But this was a good confidence builder here, getting their first win at home with their home crowd nonetheless as well. So you got to feel good about that. For KWU, there's still some things to work on defensively. They played well. Got to give the defense a lot of credit here. Held Ottawa down to only 13 points. They played really good football, and so I think you got to be proud of your defense if you're KWU. Offensively, Chihiro Wada, oh my God, lights out, played great, but you gotta clean up. I don't know if it's like a nerves thing or whatever, but you just gotta clean up these drops. This game probably shouldn't have even been this close, to be honest with you. They missed every PAT, and 2 of them were because of drops. One was Wilson just losing her footing, which, isn't the biggest deal. Mistakes like that, I think, are more acceptable than just straight up drops. But they also missed a big time touchdown, potential touchdown, or, play setting up a touchdown at right at the end of the second quarter. And then, I kind of considered a drop that interception that Sue Kaufman had. That was a little bit of a bobble by Angel Roman. You got to secure that, and she has done it before, which makes it even weirder that they've been struggling with drops here. But, hopefully with this win, that kind of boosts their confidence and begins to put away this drops problem. But, it definitely is a little bit of an issue here. And so we'll see what happens moving forward. But all I got to say is this KWU team looks good. And they have control of the conference I keep saying control of the conference, but, obviously they lost to Baker, though. But Baker already lost to Ottawa twice. So I think at this point, KWU just needs to beat Baker to truly have control of the conference here as far as tiebreakers go. But, they're in a good spot to be the conference champs here moving forward. And so we just got to see what happens. Regardless, though, I know they'll take this dub and be happy for now, as they have taken down Ottawa for the first time ever, 18-13 at home. Now, real quick, I want to talk about this Campbellsville versus Milligan game here. Number 10 Milligan going to number 11 Campbellsville. Here's the thing that sucks. This live stream, you have to pay for it, and I'm just not going to do that. There are like 20 other teams in the country, and none of them have ever done that. So I am not going to do that, because first off, it's a regular season game, so chill out. It doesn't matter that much at this point, And second, there are other teams we got to cover here. So here's basically the box score version of this one. The first half, I don't believe too much really happened here. The big touchdown that would happen in this game would happen in the third quarter, where Annalise Beach of Campbellsville would go ahead and score to get the Tigers on the board here. And then Milligan would have their chances here in the second half, including a final drive, but Olivia Knopfsinger would intercept a pass here through the receiver's hands to go ahead and seal a game. So there you go there. Campbellsville takes down Milligan 6-0, a barn burner there. And the next game will actually be against Milligan here, again in Kentucky on April 5th. So there you go there. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the lone Friday game here between Thomas, who was ranked at number 3 here, versus Point, who's ranked here at 16 going into this week, that is, at least. This was another in-state game here, and honestly, I didn't really expect this one to be close, and it wasn't. So the stream, started kind of late here. Started right when Thomas scored their 20th point, still in the first quarter, where Lexa Wilson would find Giselle Jones here to go ahead and basically make it 20-0 at this point, 19-0. Then they get the PAT to make it 20-0. So there you go there. And it just wouldn't end up being super close. Final score of this one would be 59-7, as Thomas continues to roll and take care of business as they should. I do have some stats though that I want to go over. Wilson here threw for 17 of 25, 209 yards and 6 touchdowns, only 1 pick. Tara Lorente, the backup quarterback, got in as well and went 2 of 3 for 37 yards and a touchdown in this one. As far as receiving goes, seven different players caught a receiving touchdown for Thomas, and that would be Aaliyah Wood, Tara Lorente, Amiri Logan, Akara Brown, Maddie Hoagland, Kiana Cole, and Giselle Jones there. So that was definitely big time. Aaliyah Wood led all receivers with 3 receptions for 49. Amiri Logan with 3 receptions for 44. Also, Tara Lorente only catching 1 touchdown, but it was a 45-yard touchdown. So there you go there. On defense, they continue to cook. Amiri Logan led them with 5 tackles here. Caitlin Herb having a great season so far as a freshman. 2 sacks, an interception, and a breakup. Noticeably in this one, though, Giselle Jones had 3 interceptions, which is insane, as well as a sack. Lee Wood had an interception. Maddie Hoagland had 2 interceptions in this one, as the defense was just putting up numbers on this inexperienced Point team here, who, I'll go over some of the stats here. Maddie Motz got in there, 10 of 23, 134 yards, a touchdown, and 6 interceptions, was also sacked 3 times, having a pretty tough day. She had 33 rushing yards as well. Destiny Allison was their lead receiver with 3 receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown, along with 57, taking up most of that. Khalil Worrells with 3 receptions for 46 yards, and Leah Prather with 2 for 23, as they really struggled to get going here. As far as defense goes, Darcy Wright had 6 total tackles and a tackle for loss. Other than that, just really tough sledding for Point, who continues to struggle here. And Thomas looking really good. I mean, taking care of business in these games, that's definitely important. As far as, recruiting goes, it helps to beat these teams that are in-state because they are definitely competing with, other programs and whatnot who want to get players from Georgia as well. And so to show that you're the best team in Georgia by beating Point, by beating, I want to say not Life, sorry. Let me take a look real quick here. By beating Reinhardt, and I'm sure they have beat Life before. They've played them before. That's big for Thomas, so you got to love that. For Point, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what you wanted to learn from this one. I mean, you wanted to play a tough opponent and get in there and do their thing. They still scored here, so that's a good part there. But it is what it is, and you move on. So there you go there. But Thomas, they take care of Point 59-7. Now, moving on to the Saturday slate of games from March 30th here. We got another KCAC matchup between, at the time, number 5 Ottawa versus number 8 Midland. I want to say this would be their first matchup of the year here. It should be their first matchup of the year. Hosted in Nebraska, by the way. So there you go there. And yes, it was their first, or sorry, just kidding. It was their second matchup of the year. They met up really early on in their season. Midland actually played Ottawa at the beginning and lost to them 45-12. This game would be much closer here. Obviously, Midland coming off a couple wins in a row here. I want to say since that. Well, I guess not since that loss, because then they lost to Kansas Wesleyan by 4 after that. But since that, they have been on a pretty good 7-game win streak. So you got to feel good about that. For Ottawa, they just lost to Kansas Wesleyan. And, before that, they beat Cottey by a lot, which, they should have. But then they lost 3 in a row in Georgia. And so definitely a little vulnerable here. If you're Midland, you probably feel good about it. But let's go ahead and hop into this one here. Ottawa, they would go ahead and start with the ball here. Madison Carrera at quarterback. She would get them off to a pretty hot start, starting with a drag to Jaslyn Camacho for a couple before Carrera herself would just scramble and get that first down, setting up a 1st and 16. But following that, Carrera finds Cynthia Holmes on the dig to make it 2nd and 5. She would then go back to Holmes here to make it a big-time 1st and 14 in the red zone, with Dotier on a nice post route here, so big splash play to get them started. Then they ran a pretty interesting look here. Addie Orsburn, their utility player, went under center, but they directly snapped it to Carrera, who then rolls right and throws the out to Holmes to make it 2nd and 7. Now, on 2nd down, they'd run the same look, but this time Carrera's on the left side. They still direct snap it to Carrera, who gets it and checks it down to Orsburn just for 3 yards, setting up a 3rd. 3rd down would be an incomplete pass, and then on 4th down here, Carrera rolls right and throws it, but it's off the mark here. I don't know who she was exactly aiming for, because it kind of lands between 4 defenders in open field, and so that's a turnover on downs. Midland takes over with about 7:10 left here, and here is what happens. They would go ahead and throw the hitch. Angel Ioannidou would throw the hitch to Emily Farron to make it 2nd and 11 on a gain of 5. She would then throw it over the middle to Elia Livingston, who would give them a 1st down, just barely, but a 1st and 20 regardless. A check down to Kobe J following that will make it 2nd and 14. And then on 2nd and 14 here, Angel Ioannidou rolls right and throws kind of across her body, but towards the middle of the field here to Alyssa Butler, who brings it in for a gain of 12. And so now it's 3rd and 2 here. And on 3rd and 2, Angel Ioannidou on the triple option. They had a player in motion, so it looked like a triple option look, but she kind of just makes the wrong decision pitching it back instead of just running it up the middle. I think she would have got those yards, but the pitch back was not caught. And so that is a loss of 2. And it's 4th and 4 here, but Midland decides to go very conservative here and punts. I don't know about that one in a game like this, or even just in general, but they do it anyways to kind of get Ottawa not exactly pinned back here. Wasn't the greatest punt either, but Ottawa has a 1st and 1, still in that first zone here with about 3:22 left. Doesn't matter, as they would throw a quick hitch to Camacho to make it 1st and 16 as they begin to approach midfield. Fast forward, an incompletion and a check down to Addie Osborne. It's 3rd and 11 here. Carrera gets a snap, is patient, but then eventually throws over the middle to find Bailey Hodgins between some zones. And she gets a pretty big gain here for a 1st and 4 pass to midfield. I want to say that's a gain of, if my math is correct here, let me just make sure here. That's a gain of 27. So there you go there. Then Carrera gets a snap, throws the out to Cynthia Holmes. She gets the first down, pulling them in the red zone. Right then, you got a 1st and 20. Let's go ahead and fast forward to the top of the second quarter. Ottawa in the red zone. They have a 2nd and 9 here. Carrera gets a snap, throws the out route left to Alyssa Linkus, who goes ahead and scores to make it 6-0. Looks like maybe the Midland defender could have pulled her flag. But just not a lot of effort there. So I don't know, maybe the angle was just off here, but it looked like she could have made a play, in my opinion. But either way, they score. On the PAT, Carrera throws it over the middle to Cynthia Holmes, who makes a nice contested catch to make it 7-0. Now Midland takes over at 11:54 here in the second quarter, and here's what happens. They would get a first down thanks to Angel Ioane-Kayo finding Olivia Dominguez-Millsap on the drag route to make it 1st and 19. And then on first down here, Ioane-Kayo throws a beautiful pass right up the seam, right up the middle of this defense to Kobe J, who splits the safeties and all the defenders and goes 59 yards to the house to make it 6-7 here. Midland replying right back. And then on the PAT, Ioane-Kayo finds Michaela Nunez on the hitch to tie this game at 7-7. This Midland offense clicking once more. Now Ottawa, they take over with 11:13 here, just 40 seconds after Midland did. And after a quick check down to Addie Osborne, Carrera on 2nd and 4 gets a snap, throws the post here to Alyssa Linkus. And this pass is well defended, but the defender just barely misses here and also misses the flagpole as she dives for it. And so Linkus goes 56 yards to the house to answer back for Ottawa to put them up 13-7. Just honestly, not a great play in one-on-one there. Not too much more Midland could have done. On the PAT, Carrera goes back to Cynthia Holmes to make it 14-7, just like that. Now, 10:33 left. Midland takes over here, looking to get something going, and they will get a first down thanks to a hitch route thrown to Mayana Seegers. But following a throw to Michaela Nunez in the flats, they would go ahead and call an illegal contact penalty on Ottawa. So they would just tag on to that gain by Nunez. So now it's 1st and 3 approaching midfield as this Midland offense is looking pretty solid at this point. They would then throw a quick hitch to Olivia Dominguez-Millsap. That would give them a first down past midfield, a 1st and 16 to be exact. They would then throw another one to Emily Farron here, who gets about 6 yards. On second, Ioane-Kayo throws the post to Nunez, but it is dropped, and then they call illegal contact on Midland here. So now it's 2nd and 20. Kind of far, but if you get some yards, it'll be okay. But on second down, Ioane-Kayo steps into this throw, throws it deep, but it looks like there's some contact between the defender and receivers. They both fall down. The refs call a very rare offensive pass interference call. So now it's 2nd and 30. It's just these penalties killing Midland here. On second down, it's overthrown, so it's incomplete. On third down, Ioane-Kayo throws the post. As an open receiver here on this deep route, who's in 101, by the way, but it's just slightly overthrown. And it's incomplete, and so Midland has to punt on this 4th and 30, obviously. And so that's what they do. Ottawa takes over here with about 5:45 left, in this game here. But not too much going for them either. After a scramble, my by Madison Carrera to make it 1st and 16. Jocelyn Lopez would then force an incompletion. On 2nd down here, Sydney Red would then knock away a pass here, almost picked low-key, but still knocks it away. And then on 3rd and 16, Carrera is forced to check it down to Scalisi, who obviously is not able to get enough yards. It's 4th and 11. They got to punt it. Now, Midland, they take over here looking to get something going, maybe potentially even, score to make it at least a 1-point game here. So they take over with the 1st and 4 near midfield, as a penalty was thrown on Ottawa for illegal contact following that return. So 1st and 4 near midfield, approaching midfield, I should say, with about a minute 33. Plenty of time here. So here we go. 1st down's an incompletion. 2nd down's a quick throw to Elijah Livingston in the flat, who goes ahead and gets that first past midfield to make it 1st and 17. At this point, there's a minute 19 left, and Midland calls their first timeout. Out of the timeout here, Ioane Kyle throws the drag route to Kobe J, who gets some nice yards here, about 5 on this one. So there you go there. On 2nd, Ioane Kyle throws the out to Olivia Dominguez-Millsap, which is just beyond the defender who jumps this route here. And so Dominguez-Millsap is able to bring this one in just barely, and also tight ropes down the sideline to make it 1st and 20 with about 51 seconds left here. But regardless, Midland is in the red zone. So here we go. On 1st down, Ioane Kyle throws the quick hitch to Livingston, who makes it 2nd and 14. That's when Midland would call their second timeout at the 34-second mark. Following the timeout here, 2nd down here, Ioane Kyle fires towards the post, and it looks like it might get there, but it is slightly overthrown again, just off the mark, maybe a step overthrown, honestly. So now it's 3rd down here, clock stop. And on 3rd, Ioane Kyle throws the out, but it's late and it's broken up there. So now it's 4th down with about 25 seconds left. To be specific here, it is a 4th and 14. And Ioane Kyle gets a snap, decides to scramble right here. It has a pretty good amount of room, but looks like she's about to get stopped short. Then she tries to pitch it back to, I want to say, her running back here or utility player. But she is kind of just not ready for this one. It's a solid pitch that had a chance, but unfortunately, the ball falls to the ground as the utility player is not able to recover it. If she did, she would have probably been able to score here. And so that's a turnover on downs. Not the worst play in the red zone, but obviously maybe hoping to put one in there instead of running a little bit short there. But like I said, not the worst. Ottawa takes over with about 18 seconds. They're not able to get anything going. And so Ottawa goes into the half leading 14-7. Now, Midland, once more, they will start here. So they're in a pretty solid position, even if they didn't score at the end of the last half. They knew they were going to get the ball here, so maybe they didn't want to make any mistakes that would give Ottawa a chance to return it, which I totally get. And so Midland starts here. They try to hand it off to Emily Farron. This was the wrong play. Ottawa kills that in the backfield even, so it's a loss of like 3 or 4, or 2 or 3, I should say. So it's 2nd and 8 here. They'll get a lot of that back thanks to a hitch route thrown to Mayana Seegers, who also tags on some penalties from an illegal contact one thrown on Ottawa. So now it's 1st and 19, a 1st down after that tough first play. On 1st down, Ioane Kyle throws the drag route to Alyssa Butler, who makes it 2nd and 15. She will then find Emily Farron on the hitch route to make it 3rd and 7. And then on 3rd down here, Ioane Kyle checks it down to Farron here as she's feeling the pressure, and she brings it in, making it 4th and 4. So still pretty manageable here. But once more, Midland going with the conservative decision, deciding to punt on 4th and 4. They're 4 yards away from midfield. And I don't know about this one, but they punt it, and Ottawa, they take over once more with the 1st and 1 here. Not the farthest punt either. Again, another 1st and short play for Ottawa as they're set up, and so they would get the 1st down here thanks to Carrera throwing up the seam to Mandolin Scalisi, who gets a big 15-plus yard gain here. So now it's 1st and 5 approaching midfield as Ottawa has some momentum. Following that, Carrera throws to Marley Spielberg, who looks to pass before taking off and getting a solid gain here. Is just stopped just short of the first down, though, so now it's 2nd and 1. Doesn't matter, though, as Carrera finds Alyssa Linkus to make it 1st and 17 past midfield. Following that, Carrera throws it to her right to Spielberg again, who looks to pass before just running it in and gets a couple to make it 2nd and 12 for a gain of 5. Then on 2nd and 12 on a gain of 5. 2nd down's overthrown, incomplete. 3rd down, Carrera gets the ball, throws the seam again to Scalisi, it looks like, who makes it 1st and 17 in the red zone as they are rolling. Following that, they run that interesting formation where Addie Osborne's under center, Carrera just to her left. They direct snap it to Madison Carrera, though, and then she throws the post to Cynthia Alms, who makes a tough catch against coverage to make it 20-7. They will then throw the slant to Mandolin Scalisi to make it 21-7 here. Ottawa taking a pretty dominant 2-score lead. Now Midland takes over with 4:33 left, already down, so they're trying to get something going here, but it's just not quite working out. After a knockdown pass by DJ Paris on 2nd, Ioane Kyle throws the drag to Michaela Nunez, who gets a nice gain of about 18 or so to give them a 1st and 7 approaching midfield. 1st down here, Ioane Kyle throws over the middle to Alyssa Butler. That gives them a 1st and 20 just past midfield. So now Midland is past midfield and they're rolling. On 1st down, though, Ioane Kyle throws the drag to Kobe J, who makes it 2nd and 16. 2nd down, it's incomplete, though. 3rd down, it's a nice play action pass here, so it kind of freezes the defense a little bit. And then Ioane Kyle goes up the seam to Kobe J. It's a good look here, but it's just off the mark. And so Midland, weirdly enough, kind of decides to punt it again. It's 4th and 16 past midfield. I think at the very least you are probably okay with still going for it here. And so they don't. Ottawa, they take over, just honestly looking to take up a lot of time here. They have a 1st and 6 approaching that 2nd zone here. So let's go ahead and fast forward just a little bit. So in the 4th quarter, at the top of the 4th quarter, Carrera would scramble to make it 1st and 16. Then she would check it down to make it 2nd and 17. It was a 2nd and 17 play that went for a loss, interesting enough. So there you go there. Then on 2nd down, Carrera under pressure throws kind of a dangerous pass over the middle, which is jumped again by Sydney Red, but she's not able to bring in the interception, so it's incomplete. That brings up 3rd and 17. Carrera scrambles right and makes it 4th and 3, getting a gain of 4. And then on 4th and 3, Carrera gets snapped, throws the curl to Scalisi, but it is dropped, a rare drop here. So that's a turnover on downs. Midland kind of getting away with that. And so here we go, 1st and 17 past midfield. 8:32 left for Midland. They throw to the flats to Farron, who gets maybe 1 yard. Then on 2nd down, it's a check down to Jocelyn Lopez, who makes it 3rd and 14. And then on 3rd and 14, I don't understand this one, but they run a power option or some sort of toss play, it looks like, and they just pitch it right to Michaela Nunez, and it doesn't look like there's really a passing option here, as she is stopped for a loss. Kind of a frustrating play call here, as now it's 4th and 16 here, and on 4th and 16, finally they decide to go for it. It's a play action here. Ioane Kyle takes a shot over the middle, but this one is extremely well covered, and so that's a turnover on downs. Yeah, I don't know. And then Ottawa takes over with the 1st and 4 and 5:34 left here. And they would basically just take up a lot of time here. They would get into the red zone thanks to a nice throw that's tipped up and caught by Jocelyn Camacho, making it 1st and 9 there. And then they would just use up the rest of the time here, as nothing else would really happen. And so Ottawa wins this one 21-7. My player of the game, I think, has to be Alyssa Linkus. She scored, I don't think she scored all the touchdowns, but she scored the majority of them, 2 out of 3. So obviously, I mean, you gotta love that. Do have some stats here, so let's talk about Ottawa first here. Madison Carrera, 25 of 33 for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also added on 37 rushing yards in this one. Cynthia Holmes with 6 receptions for 92 yards and a touchdown. Alyssa Linkus, who I think was the player of the game, 4 receptions, 79 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Madeline Scalisi, 3 for 36. Bailey Hodgins, 2 for 35. And Marley Spielberg, 4 for 28. Addie Osborne also 4 of 17 in this one. Defensively, they played really well, I thought, for the most part. Farron Maloof, 9 tackles. Abby Brown, 6. No sacks or turnovers, though. So there you go. For Midland, Angel Ioane Kaiyo, 24 of 36. 220 yards, a touchdown. No picks, though, in this one. Kobe J led with 3 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. Olivia Dominguez-Millsap, 3 receptions for 33. Emily Farron, 6 for 29. Alyssa Butler, 3 for 25. Elia Livingston, 3 for 24. Michaela Nunez, 3 for 14. Defensively, Sydney Red led the team with 9 total flag pulls here. Michaela Nunez right behind her, though, with 8. And like I said, no picks or sacks in this one. And so let me go ahead and talk about Midland here real quick, because I felt like this was very much a game they could have won here. This is a lot on the coaching staff, I would say, and I know they're new and whatnot, but they played this game extremely conservative, just, I guess, not looking to get blown out, but also you got to take some risk if you want to make some money and if you want to win here. And just these punts on 4th and 4 as they approach midfield kill me. And honestly, if you ever get past midfield, you really shouldn't punt it on 4th down. You should at least try to take a shot or something. And so they had one, I want to say late in the 3rd quarter, where, I mean, shoot, man, they were past midfield and they still punted it. All for what? And they didn't even put them down on the 1 most of the time because of the wind. So, I just don't understand why you would make that decision. I don't like it. And then there was also this play call. Oh my God, this play call in the 4th quarter. It's 3rd and 14 or something like that. And they go ahead and call a toss play to Michaela Nunez. That wasn't it. That killed that drive right there. And they would go for it, here on 4th and 16 past midfield. But what's crazy is that they literally punted, and this is almost exact same situation, just a couple plays or a couple of drives before. So I just don't understand. And so this one's tough. This one's definitely tough here. I would also say Angel Ioane Kaiyo, she did miss a couple of throws that would have been big, and extended some drives, but you really can't rely on those big-time pass plays to, carry an offense. If you know that you have 4th down as well, then I think you'll call a more manageable 3rd down play to make it a more manageable 4th instead of taking those type of shots too. So I kind of felt like this was more mismanagement than anything. I felt like defensively they played pretty well. I thought at times, they struggled, but they played pretty well for the most part on a lot of these touchdowns, all except for really the first one here, I would say. I mean, there were contested looks. That 56-yarder that Alyssa Linkus broke out, that was a good look, and then this little slant here to Cynthia Holmes. I mean, it was good coverage, but it's Cynthia Holmes, so, it is what it is in one-on-one there, to be honest with you. And so, if you're Midland's defense, you gotta feel good offensively. I would actually still feel good. You were maybe a couple big plays away from tying this one or even winning it, but I don't know. I thought they played it very passively, the coaching staff over there, and they lost, and this was a team that got blown out, 45-12 in the first game, and then I guess I understand wanting it to slow down and be a little bit more conservative here, but I mean, you got to take some risk if you want to win, right? So that's just kind of disappointing though for Midland, as they were really on a roll here, winning some big games and getting some big time scores in these games as well, as his offense really has been clicking, and the team in general. So yeah, for Ottawa, I wouldn't say it was their cleanest game. I think defensively, they still got a bit of a ways to go. It looks like they're experimenting here as well still. Sue Kaufman was playing a lot of DB instead of rusher. And I don't know, in my opinion, I really felt like that pressure wasn't super there. I mean, obviously they affected some throws here, but even then, I don't know. Like, I feel like if it wasn't as windy of a day, a lot of those throws would have connected with or without the pressure. So it's interesting to see what Ottawa's doing, but they still get the win here. They still stay kind of in contention for that regular season conference championship, which, more or less doesn't matter, to be honest with you. But, this is definitely a game to do some research on and look at, because while they did win, it felt like a pretty sloppy, okay, stop the bleeding type of win, which is fine. I think at this point, you could only take it one game at a time if you're Ottawa here and continue to move on and figure out, what's going to work best here moving forward if you really want to contend. So there you go there. But Ottawa, though, wins a pretty important one here, 21-7 on the road, by the way, to Midland. So there you go there. All right, now real quick here, let's go ahead and talk about Kansas Wesleyan versus Cottey. KW sitting at 6 going into this game, obviously coming off a huge win against Ottawa the game before. Cottey sitting at 18 here, and I'll keep this one relatively quick. It really wasn't that close of a game. It was 30-0 here at the end. Kansas Wesleyan defeating Cottey. KW, despite not having, I guess, the biggest scoring game here, they scored when they got the ball and whatnot. Cottey trying to keep it away from them, but Chihiro Wada would find Jasmine Whitfield on the first pass, on the first touchdown, to make it 6-0, and then following that, KW would stop them, and she would go back to Whitfield for another pass to go up 2 scores, and then they would score again, I believe, where Iwata... Sorry, that second touchdown was caught by Angel Roman, or set up by Angel Roman, and then caught by Whitfield. And then following that, Iwata would find Roman on a scoring play to go up by 3 scores. And at this point, it is basically over, I want to say. So, not too much going here. AW, they go ahead and take care of business for Cottey. They would play 3 different quarterbacks here in Amaya Karula, Alyssa Hollis, and Erica Roberts, who got in there at quarterback. Had, I guess, arguably the best statistical day here. 3 of 3 for 43 yards through the air. But the carousel continues here. Amaya Karula did get a couple rushing yards, 5 rushes for 33. Alyssa Hollis had a couple passing yards and some rushing yards, but like I said, nothing exactly established here. Shamis Lee, she was their lead receiver with, let me make sure this is right here. She would finish with 5 catches for 54 yards. Doing her thing on defense, Suzanne Albert had 2 more sacks, again her second of the year, and then Angie Cruz led the squad with 6 pulls total. So there you go there. Defense not doing the worst. I mean, holding Kansas Wesleyan to 30 is definitely not the worst. Still, it's offense, and I think it will stay that way moving forward. So there you go there.
What is going on, y'all? Gino here with the Playmakers Corner podcast, and it is time to give y'all a recap of the number 17 PMC ranked University of St. Mary Spires versus the number 12 PMC ranked Southwestern Mound Builders game that went down this past Saturday, March 30th. This game was an absolute shootout with some legendary performances and crazy moments, so let's not waste any more time and get right into this recap. Starting off here in the first quarter, Southwestern starts with the ball here to start the game. 1st and 6 here. The first snap of the game is a handoff that is completely shut down by Anaya Hooks for a loss of a few yards. The freshman QB Miranda Dooley then hits her top target Viviana Solis on a drag route that gets them just short of the first down. On 3rd down, Dooley surveys and is flushed out left as she lobs one up along the sideline over the defense to Davina Little, and Little goes untouched and takes that one all the way for a Southwestern touchdown. Great job improvising there by Dooley and the Mound Builders offense. Southwestern now has the lead 6-0 with 10:22 left in the first quarter. It is SMU ball now, 1st and 6 as they prepare to answer. Pass interference on the first snap of the drive gives St. Mary an automatic first down, and then Tana Weckworth forces a bad pass on the next snap with a near sack, and then on second down, the freshman QB Cheyenne Brooks lobs a bomb to Talia Wright as Wright makes the catch and takes that one across midfield for an USM first down. Great throw and catch there from those two. On 1st and 15, Brooks decides to scramble as she has two defenders in her face for a 3-yard gain. Brooks then hits Ayanna Harris over the middle on a nice pass between the defense for a nice gain near the first down. On 3rd and 3, Cheyenne Brooks has two defenders in her face, but the check down pass is dropped to make it 4th and 3. On 4th down, Brooks lobs up a prayer under pressure, and it is picked off by Viviana Solis to give Southwestern the ball back. It is 1st and 15 for the Mound Builders near their own end zone following the pick, 6:36 left in the quarter. Miranda Dooley takes the snap on first down and immediately finds a hole and runs it for a huge gain. 1st and 9 now for Southwestern as Dooley hits Davina Little under pressure for a gain of 2. On 2nd and 7, Dooley lobs up a bomb to Aaliyah Hansen that is just barely overthrown along the sideline to make it 3rd and 7. On 3rd down, Dooley tried to find Davina Little, but the pass was tightly defended by Anaya Hooks to force the incompletion as Southwestern sets up the punt here. St. Mary will have it 1st and 12 in their own territory following the punt. Cheyenne Brooks hits Talia Wright on a drag route for a solid gain, and then Aaliyah Hansen swats down a deep pass that was underthrown to an open receiver. Nearly a touchdown there for St. Mary, but instead it's 3rd and 7 as Brooks is under heavy pressure and is nearly sacked, but a holding flag on the play makes it 3rd and 1 for the St. Mary offense. Southwestern calls timeout following that penalty with 1:07 left in the first quarter. Following the timeout, it is a pitch play to Sade Irvin as she absolutely scorches the defense and takes it the distance for a St. Mary touchdown. Some blazing speed there from Irvin to put St. Mary back in the game. The extra point was dropped, so the score is now tied 6-6 with 59 seconds left in the first quarter. 1st and 6 now for Southwestern. The first down pass is swatted down by Charisma Delgado, who made a great play on the ball there over the middle. And then on 2nd down, Dooley had a receiver deep over the top, but the ball is overthrown, and that play takes us to the end of the first quarter. The score is all tied up here, 6-6 heading into the second quarter. Into the second quarter now, it is 3rd and 6 for Southwestern to start off here. Dooley sends Viviana Solis in motion as she is going deep and makes an amazing catch along the sideline for a huge gain to put the Mound Builders near midfield. On 1st and 1, Miranda Dooley takes a QB run up the middle for an easy first down across midfield. 1st and 14 here for Southwestern as Dooley takes another QB run outside for a gain of about 6. On 2nd and 8, Dooley steps into her throw and launches one deep for Viviana Solis, but tight coverage from Talia Wright forces an incompletion. 3rd and 8 now as St. Mary rushes 3, and that forces Dooley to throw a deep pass out of bounds, but a flag on St. Mary gives Southwestern a free 10 yards and a first down into the red zone. 1st and 18 now for the Mound Builders as Miranda Dooley doesn't like what she sees on the power option left and decides to cut back and run for a gain of 5. On 2nd and 13, Dooley finds Aaliyah Hansen on a post route for a solid gain to make it 3rd and 9. The third down pass is underthrown to a crossing Solis in the end zone to make it 4th and 9. On 4th down, Dooley takes the snap and tries to find Aaliyah Hansen in the end zone, but that ball is overthrown in the back of the end zone to take the Southwestern offense off the field. 1st and 11 for St. Mary here to start their drive. Cheyenne Brooks rolls right on 1st down and nearly had a receiver in tight coverage, but the ball is barely out of reach. A false start on the next snap makes it 2nd and 16. Tana Weckworth gets a sack on the next play to push St. Mary back even further. 3rd and 18 here for St. Mary right near their end zone, and the pass is dropped near the sideline as St. Mary will have to punt here. Viviana Solis takes the punt across midfield to give Southwestern great field position to start their drive. 1st and 6 here for the Mound Builders as Dooley pitches a power option back to Solis to put them near the red zone. Then on 2nd and 1, Dooley is under heavy pressure, but she lobs up an absolute dime to Elisa Llamas over the top of the defense for a Southwestern touchdown. That touchdown puts the Mound Builders up 12-6 with 2:15 left in the half. 1st and 6 for St. Mary as they prepare to try and tie this one up or even take the lead heading into halftime. Cheyenne Brooks has great blocking in front of her as she drops a deep dime that would have gone for a big gain, but the pass is dropped. 2nd and 6 now as Brooks is under pressure and throws another deep dime along the sideline this time, and that is once again dropped. On 3rd and 6, a pass over the middle is swatted down by Tegan Smith, who makes a great play to force St. Mary to set up the punt. An absolutely monstrous punt rolls all the way back to the opposite red zone. It is 1st and 11 for Southwestern to start their drive with 1:26 left in the half. Jania Swanson shuts down a power option at the line of scrimmage, and then another big play from the St. Mary defense as Anaya Hooks gets a big-time sack for a loss as Southwestern calls timeout with 39 seconds left in the half. It's 1st and 16 for Southwestern following the sack and timeout as Dooley throws an ill-advised deep pass that is easily picked off by Talia Wright to put St. Mary in the red zone with 28 seconds left here in the half. It is 1st and 17 for St. Mary following that interception. And then on the first play of the drive, Cheyenne Brooks rolls to her right and lobs a beauty to Rebecca Ruck, who walks into the end zone for a St. Mary touchdown. Brooks is absolutely balling out in this first half as she scrambles around and eventually finds a receiver in the end zone for the extra point to put St. Mary up 14-12 with just 22 seconds remaining in the half. 1st and 6 now for Southwestern following that big set of plays from St. Mary. Dooley's overthrows continue here as she misses a receiver that beat her defender on a deep ball to make it 2nd and 6. Dooley then finds Viviana Solis over the middle for a first down on the next play as Southwestern calls timeout with 15 seconds left in the half. It is 1st and 19 following the timeout as a pass over the middle is dropped and then a deep pass on a corner route to the sideline is overthrown. 3rd and 20 now for the Southwestern offense with 8 seconds left as Dooley hits Viviana Solis in stride and Solis burns her defender for a Southwestern touchdown on the last play of the half. Just a beautiful route there from Solis and an awesome throw from Miranda Dooley to put Southwestern up 18-14 heading into halftime. And that was just an absolutely wild series of events in the final 30 seconds of the half, with both teams getting some big-time touchdowns here before halftime. Heading into the third quarter here, it is St. Mary ball, 1st and 6 to start the half. Cheyenne Brooks drops an absolute bomb to Ayanna Harris on the first play of the half to put the Spires across midfield right away. 1st and 14 now as Cheyenne Brooks drops a dime to a wide-open Ayanna Harris in the end zone for a St. Mary touchdown. The Spires take the lead back here as Cheyenne Brooks just continues to ball out here. It is 20-18 now with 10:58 left in the third quarter. 1st and 6 here for Southwestern as they prepare to answer. Miranda Dooley has a receiver deep, but the ball is overthrown, and then on 2nd down, Dooley finds Viviana Solis on a drag route that is good for the first down. On 1st and 20, Dooley has a bad pitch on a power option for a loss of 2, and then on 2nd down, there is pass interference over the middle to give Southwestern 10 yards and an automatic first down. 1st and 12 here for Southwestern as Michaela Swangby gets a sack for a loss of 4. It is 2nd and 16 now as Dooley's deep pass is incomplete. And then on 3rd down, Dooley throws an ill-advised deep pass that is picked off by Braylee Chris, and she takes that one all the way for a pick 6. Unfortunately, though, there was an illegal blocking penalty as a player appeared to get in the way of Miranda Dooley near the end zone. That was a very questionable penalty, in my opinion. Dooley probably could have got called for the unnecessary roughness there as she straight up trucked that St. Mary player near the end zone. It is no pick 6, but it is still St. Mary ball nonetheless. 1st and 1 near the red zone. Cheyenne Brooks scrambles for a 1st down to avoid a sack, and she makes a very smart pitch back to Talia Wright on the scramble for even more yards to put the Spires near the end zone. It is 1st and 3 here for the Spires as Cheyenne Brooks takes it in herself and reaches across for a St. Mary touchdown. St. Mary now extends their lead 26-18 with 6:24 left in the 3rd quarter. 1st and 6 here for Southwestern as they try and prevent this one from getting out of reach. Miranda Dooley hits Aaliyah Hansen in stride on a slant for a huge gain near midfield on 1st down. It is 1st and 2 here for the Mound Builders as Dooley hits Tana Weckworth on an out route for a 1st down across midfield. 1st and 14 here for Southwestern as they call timeout with 4:50 left in the quarter. Following the timeout, Dooley keeps the power option left for a nice gain to make it 2nd and 6. On 2nd down, the pass over the middle is underthrown and incomplete, and then the 3rd down pass is a beautiful pass from Dooley to Davina Little under heavy pressure to give Southwestern a 1st down near the end zone. On 1st and 3, Dooley immediately finds Viviana Solis wide open in the end zone for a Southwestern touchdown and Solis's 2nd of the game. The Mound Builders now trail 26-24 with 2:38 left in the quarter. It is now St. Mary ball 1st and 6 as they try and add to their lead. The 1st down and 2nd down passes are incomplete, and then on 3rd down, Tegan Smith makes a big play and swats down the pass to force St. Mary to set up the punt. It is 1st and 19 across midfield for Southwestern following the punt. The first play of the drive is a handoff to Tegan Smith for a gain of 5, and that takes us to the end of the 3rd quarter. St. Mary leads 26-24 heading into the final quarter of the game. Let's see how this one ends. 4th quarter here, it is 2nd and 14 for Southwestern to start off here. The 2nd down pass is incomplete, and then St. Mary rushes 3 on 3rd down to force Dooley right, and that pass is incomplete as well to make it 4th and 14. Southwestern actually decides to punt it here, interestingly. It is 1st and 2 for St. Mary following the punt. Talia Wright catches it on the drag route to give the Spires a 1st down. And then on 1st and 16, Sammy Labosco gets a big-time sack for a loss of 5. And then on 2nd down, a roughing the passer penalty gives St. Mary a free 10 yards and a 1st down. On 1st and 11, Tegan Smith chases down Cheyenne Brooks for a sack and a loss of 1 yard. And then on 2nd down, the pass is overthrown to make it 3rd and 12 here. On 3rd and long, Cheyenne Brooks steps into her throw and launches an absolute laser to Ellie Campbell for a 1st down across midfield. It is now 1st and 19 for the Spires as Cheyenne Brooks finds Ayanna Harris along the sideline on a curl route as Harris breaks the defender's ankles for a nice gain of 10 yards as she runs that one out of bounds. 2nd and 10 now for the Spires on a deep pass from Brooks is just barely overthrown to make it 3rd and 10. On 3rd down, Brooks has a defender, but it is overthrown to make it 4th down. The Spires decide to go for it here, but the check down pass is not enough to get the 1st down, so that will be a turnover on downs here. It is 1st and 18 for the Mound Builders to start their drive with just 2:56 remaining in the game, and they are down 2 points here. The first down pass is deep and incomplete, and then on second down, the pass is locked down by Jania Swanson. 3rd and 18 here for Southwestern as the deep pass is overthrown. 4th and 18 for Southwestern as they call timeout with 1:31 left in the game. Southwestern needs a first here to stay in the game as Dooley takes the snap coming out of the timeout on 4th and 18 and finds Viviana Solis over the middle as Solis makes multiple defenders miss and takes that one all the way to give Southwestern the lead with 1:26 left in the game. Solis scorches the defense and avoids multiple flag pulls there as she gets her 3rd touchdown of the game when Southwestern needed it most. She is having an unbelievable game and season, and what a way to get her 3rd touchdown of the game. The extra point is good, and that gives Southwestern a 31-26 lead very late in the game here. 1st and 6 for St. Mary as they have a minute and 26 seconds to work with to try and get their lead back. And the first play of the drive is picked off by Tegan Smith, and Smith takes it in for a back-breaking pick 6. And just like that, folks, Southwestern has a 2-possession lead with 1:18 left in the game. Tana Weckworth got right to Cheyenne Brooks to force a weak checkdown pass there, and Tegan Smith just snagged that one rather easily. What an insane turn of events here as Southwestern leads 37-26 after being down 2 just a moment ago. And that would be our final score in this one as Southwestern takes down St. Mary 37-26 in an absolute thriller. It was back and forth all game, but it is the Mound Builders who prevail in the end with some insanely clutch plays from both the offense and defense. I mean, what an absolute roller coaster ride of a game, man. I don't think a game could get any more back and forth than what we just saw in that one. Your PMC playmaker of the game easily goes to Viviana Solis for putting up one of the best games out of a receiver that we have seen maybe ever. She put up 3 touchdowns, including a 50-plus yarder to give Southwestern the lead on the last play of the first half. And then, of course, the game-winning 58-yard touchdown on 4th and 18. And then she also had an interception on defense because why not? This was a performance for the ages and definitely one that will cement Solis as an Offensive Player of the Year candidate. I also got to recognize Miranda Dooley, who struggled a bit at times in this game, but made the big throws when it mattered most. I also want to recognize Tegan Smith, who had a monster game on defense with 2 batted down passes, a sack, multiple pressures, and then, of course, the dagger pick 6 at the end of the game. Awesome win for Southwestern and just an awesome game in general. Now for St. Mary, that was a brutal loss for them. The Spires were so dang close to winning this one, but they just couldn't put a drive together in the 4th quarter. Cheyenne Brooks, for the first 3 quarters, was playing lights out and was making beautiful throws left and right, but just wasn't able to put it all together in that final quarter. She still has endless potential, though, and is definitely on the radar here for Freshman Playmaker of the Year. Talia Wright also had a really great game as both a receiver and defensive back with some big plays on both sides. Then you also had Anaya Hooks with a huge game as a rusher, making Miranda Dooley work extra hard to make things happen. St. Mary has a good foundation for the future, and I really like what they have, but they were just unable to make it happen in this game. And that outro puts an end to this recap. I want to thank you all for listening. This is Gino with the Playmakers Corner podcast, checking out, and I will see you all in Week 8. Peace out.
All right, now let's go ahead and talk about Playmaker of the Week, brought to you by Code Red Coaching. Make sure you check them out at coderedcoaching.com or at Code Red Coaching on social media, or call 720-979-1914. Like I said, see them at Code Red Coaching or call them at 720-979-1914. But they bring you Playmaker of the Week, and I think this week it's pretty obviously between two candidates here from the KCAC who won some pretty big games here. Let me start with one of them here, Chihiro Iwata from Kansas Wesleyan, in a game where they beat Ottawa. She went 33 of 46 for 302 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 pick, but in my opinion, the pick wasn't her fault, so there you go there. Also had 11 rushing yards in absolutely monumental, first off a rivalry game, but an absolutely monumental win to put KW in a position to potentially take the conference, while also delivering their first win over Ottawa as well. So there you go there. Now the other one would be a wide receiver from Southwestern in a pretty crazy 37-26 game where Southwestern was down. You know, she would go off in this game and win on a pretty crazy, like, oh my gosh, 59-yard long touchdown to go ahead and win in the closing seconds. And that would be the standout receiver, Viviana Solis. 7 receptions, 165 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, also had 6 rushing yards. And on defense, well, actually, just kidding. I guess there are no defensive... Sorry, on defense, she had 6 total tackles, pulls as well. Sorry, I didn't see that at first. So there you go. They're having an absolutely great game. One of the best statistical performances from a receiver, probably since Cynthia Holmes, honestly, back when she was over at Warner. So there you go there. But for this week, we got to give it to the quarterback from Kansas Wesleyan, Chihiro Iwata. A huge game that'll mean a lot in their implications for the conference and for the confidence moving forward, as well as they continue to play and will, probably compete in the conference championship against them or someone like them, and then move on and play in the national tournament, beating a once contender, beating the national champs one time at least. That's got to do something for your confidence there. And she played a really good football game, really didn't make a lot of mistakes, if any, and so you got to feel good about that. So there you go there, your Week 7 Playmaker of the Week, brought to you by Code Red Coaching. Once more is Kansas Wesleyan's quarterback, Chihiro Iwata. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about power rankings. In case you don't know how they go, what we do is that myself, Kodey, and Gino, we rank these teams 1 through 20. If a team is ranked by any of us at number 1, that team gets 20 points, 2, 19, 3, 18, so forth and so forth here. And then I basically add up all the points that we've given each team, and then the number 1 team with the most points is our number 1 PMC ranked team. And then so forth and so forth from there. And so we have individual rankings that do differ. They're slightly different from our PMC rankings, of course, and I'll make sure to, mention that when we get to it here. But for the most part, that is how it goes down. In case you do not remember, last week here, back in week 6, I want to say, in week 6 at 20 was Bethel, 19 Graceland, 18 Cottey, 17 St. Mary, 16 Point, 15 Life, 14 Reinhardt, 13 FMU, 12 Southwestern, 11 Campbellsville, 10 Milligan, 9 Baker, 8 Midland, 7 Weber. At 6 was KW, Kansas Wesleyan, 5 Ottawa, 4 St. Thomas, 3 Thomas, 2 Warner, and at number 1 is Keiser. Now, there weren't too many, not too much movement, I would say, in our rankings this week, but let's go ahead and hop into it. At number 20 still is Bethel. And Gino was the only one who had anything to say. He moved Bethel down from 19 to 20. He said it's going to be a long season for Bethel as they are still trying to build the program. They'll really only be swapping the 19 and 20 spots with Graceland for the rest of the season. And yeah, I mean, they've forfeited a lot of games. We hope that they could get out there and compete. But right now, it just doesn't quite look like it. So they are last for now. At 19, we have Graceland not moving up or down. Gino had this to say about them. He said, Graceland is still waiting on their first sorry, not first point of the year. They scored already, but he said they're waiting on the first point of the year, so not much to put them any higher than 19 as of week 7. They would score exactly 1 touchdown, so they have scored their first point. Kodey just said first TD, let's go. Gotta feel good about it. For Graceland, I got to watch them a little bit. They got some pieces over there. I really feel like they have a quarterback in Shyla Barrios. It just really depends on how she continues to develop the rest of this season and off season moving forward. So we'll see what happens there. But they got some pieces there. They got some solid receivers. It's just a matter of putting it together, as they have really just started like a week or two ago. Now, at 17/18, we actually have a tie at 17, and that is Cottey and point. This is what Gino had to say about Cottey. He said Cottey has shown flashes and even got a much-needed win over Graceland this week, so I'm moving them up a spot. Kodey would also move Cottey up a spot. He would say a certified Cottey dub that looked even stronger than yet USM's win earlier in the week. Comments are blasting off, so there you go there. That's a big win they got over Graceland, and it was a very dominant win, so if you're Cottey, you gotta feel good about that one there. Now for the other team that is tied with them, that is Point. Gino had this to say about Point, who he moves from 16 to 18. He said the loss of Caitlin Reinhardt is an absolute gut punch to this team's firepower on offense. Wins are going to be much harder to come by without Reinhardt's arm. Kodey had this to say about Point, who he moved down from 16 to 18. He said this team has a lot going on with players leaving and issues in and out of the hash marks that are a part of the downward spiral. And then I had, let me check here, I had Point moving down from 13, down to 17 here, a couple of spots as they fall and tie here. Yeah, so Caitlin Reinhardt is no longer part of the team. She's not going to be there. I believe she will probably be transferring elsewhere. She's a really good talent, but that is kind of a loss at quarterback. I know they're rolling with Maddie Motts right now, but obviously it never hurts having 2 quarterbacks, especially in flag football. And so that's kind of a tough go. They also lost by a lot this last week here, so we had no point but to move them down. We had no choice but to move them down. Now at 16, we have the University of St. Mary. Gino had this to say about them. He moved them up from 17 to 15. He said, I really loved what I saw from Cheyenne Brooks in the Southwestern game. She's definitely the quarterback of the future for the Spires, as long as she can start to tighten things up towards the end of the game, which I fully expect her to. Kodey had this to say about the Spires, who he actually moved up from 17 to 15. Brooks has a very bright future and shows some amazing flashes, but these fourth quarters keep spiraling from the Spires, and it is frustrating to watch. And then I had USM moving from 16 here, and actually I just kept them at 16 because they did get a big win here on Monday, and then lost kind of a really disappointing game against Southwestern on Saturday, a game that I felt like they had control of. I was watching that one with Gino and Cheyenne Brooks. I mean, we got to praise her. She was playing really good football, and I would say also on Monday, she was playing really good football, but you got to turn in all fourth quarters. There are definitely times where she looks like a young quarterback, in her head, making some mistakes here and there. Eventually, it's going to go away, and I'm sure she's going to grow out of it. But right now, it's just not the greatest look there, as, they had that lead, and then it just got away from them. And it's not just her. There's a lot of young players over there as they're continuing to figure it out. But I think one bright spot for the Spires here, who do move up a spot here still, is that, they got a quarterback of the future. I think Cheyenne Brooks is that talented. She threw some beautiful balls this last week here and looked really good. It's just a matter of putting it all together. So there you go there. USM does move up a spot. Moving on, we have Reinhardt here, who is at 15. They actually, I believe they drop 1 as they're at 14 before. But Gino have this to say about Reinhardt, who he had dropping from 13 to 16. He said, man, oh man, Reinhardt's inexperience continues to kill them as they fall to 1-7 on the season and drop all the way down to 16 in my rankings this week. Still without a win since week 1 and a tough road ahead with Weber and Warner games coming up this next week. Kodey had this to say about Reinhardt. Reinhardt is just, and then he typed out 4 dots, I don't know. You hate to see it because this team feels more talented than 16. And yeah, I gotta agree. I think they are more talented than 16. They do drop here one spot to 15 as I had them dropping here from 14 to, or actually, sorry, I had them moving up slightly a spot there because I had other teams move ahead and move down. So there you go there. So they only drop one spot. It could definitely be worse here. But you're right. I mean, one loss since, one win since week 1. That's not good. And the rest have been losses. They're on a pretty nasty losing streak right now. Like I said last week, they got to find a way to put it together and win. You know, they just got to. So there you go there. Now at 14 is Life, who moves up ahead a spot. This is what Gino had to say about Life, who he has at 13 moving up one. He said a tough loss to St. Thomas this week, but they are a new program, so that was pretty much expected. I'm not sure if they can go much higher than 13 in the rankings this year, but I guess we'll have to see if they can pull off some upsets. Kodey had this to say about Life. He actually said nothing, as last week, I want to say, they lost to or maybe it was this week. Sorry, they lost to St. Thomas, but he had nothing to say about Life there, who he still has at 11. For me, I moved Life from 18 to 14. You know, they've won some games, you know, so you got to feel good about that. Obviously, still a tough loss here the last 2 weeks, but, you know, it is what it is, and I feel pretty good about them moving forward. Out of all the young Georgia teams outside of Thomas, I feel really good about them, I would say here. And they are actually winning, so there you go there. At 13 is FMU, who doesn't move up a spot. Gino said this about FMU, who he has moving up one. He said not a lot to be excited about here for FMU outside of Erica Johnson, but they have an opportunity to get their second win of the season, next week against Point. Kodey did not say anything about FMU, and then I kept FMU here at 12, so not too much more to say about them. At 12, we have Southwestern here, who does not move up in our rankings. Gino said this about Southwestern, who he has staying at 11. He said the Mound Builders won a wild one against the Spires here on the back of a legendary performance from Viviana Solis. Her impact is quite amazing, and her connection with Miranda Dooley is only getting better each week. Kodey had this to say about Southwestern, who he has moving up 2 spots back into his top 10. He said, the top-end talent showed for this squad, and they're back in the top 10 because their ceiling is dangerous, and once they get some depth, they'll be making some more serious moves. So there you go. With Southwestern, I kept them right here at 15 here. They had to come back and win this one. I think maybe it was a little sloppy. You know, they could have won this in a cleaner way. But, you know, hey, a win's a win. And so, with all that being said, Southwestern stays at 12 in our power rankings. You love Miranda Dooley. You love Viviana Solis. You really like a lot of the other players around her. But I think they still need some... they still need some experience, and that depth part is something they can't fix until, after this next recruiting season and current season. So I'm not really worried about that right now, but it is what it is. And it kind of caps them out with where they're at least considering, where they rank playing other teams. They have some great stars, but they got to fill out the rest of the roster and continue to do that. Now at 11 is Milligan, who does move down a spot. Gino have this to say about Milligan, who he has moved down from 10 to 12. He said, that shutout loss to Campbellsville is enough for me to bring Milligan down a couple spots. Their defense is pretty good, but that lack of firepower on offense is a bit concerning. Kodey have this to say about Milligan, who he drops from 10 to 13. The Buffs and Tigers are definitely in a tier of their own right around the middle, where the talent is not overwhelming, but it's enough to be respectable. For me, I've moved Milligan, or actually I just kept them at 10 because as of right now, I like what they have. I think this is a team that low-key might be playing down to some teams, but they'll play up to teams as well. And so, I don't know why, but They are a young team. They're still trying to find that consistency. As far as defense or offense goes, I really like what they have on offense. Love their quarterback. Ashton Weirley is a stud over there. They have some really good receivers. Defensively, I guess want a little bit more, but they didn't score at all, and so that's definitely concerning. We'll see where they're at. They go up and down a lot, though, so it is what it is. At 10 is Campbellsville, who moves up one spot just ahead of them. Gino had this to say about Campbellsville. He says Campbellsville moves to 4-3 in NAIA play, and that shutout win over Milligan moves the Tigers into my top 10 this week. Kodey had this to say about Campbellsville, who he has moving up a spot. Just going to scooch over Sevo up a spot. And what's even crazier is that this was their first home game of the season, which makes the dub better. I have Campbellsville here leapfrogging a couple teams, going from 11 to 9 here. And yeah, I mean, they got some good athletes over there. They are continuing to learn as the season goes on. Their quarterback, Journey Knowles, I think has some good potential. I think offensive or defensively, you really like what's over there with J.C. Harper at the helm at linebacker. And so you really feel like that they're going to continue to figure it out and get better. And that's what they're doing, right? It's still a relatively young team, so I'm not worried about them. At 9, though, we have Baker, who doesn't move up or down, but this is what Gino had to say about Baker, who he has moving down a spot from 8 to 9. He said, these Ottawa blowouts are unfortunately showing the gap between Ottawa and the other top 3 teams in the KCAC. Baker is still a top 10 team, though, and have all the potential in the world. Kodey had this to say about Baker, who he has staying at 9. He said, once again, this team is just so up and down, and when they're clicking, they just get it right. But they faced a PO'd Ottawa. They faced a PO'd Ottawa team and were quickly turned into doormats. I would still not panic. For me, I have Baker moving down from 9 to 11 in my rankings. It's cool. Like they've shown a lot of potential. They've shown they could hang with like a KW, beat them even, and a Midland. The next step is Ottawa, but the thing is, KW beat Ottawa by I thought they beat him and could have beat him even more, honestly. And so, I don't know. They're a young team. I think as far as first-year programs go, they're definitely the best. And as far as younger programs go, they're up there with some of the best for sure, even then. So, I really like where they're at. They're going to get better, but, they got to get over that hump eventually. We'll see if it's this season or next, but they know what their goal is, and we know where they're at for sure. And so this is a very promising team. Now, at 8 is Midland, who stays right here. Gino have this to say about them. Lost a tough one to Ottawa in a game that felt like they probably could have won. They move a spot this week in my rankings since they showed they can actually compete against Ottawa. And not to mention, they already beat Baker as well. Midland staying or moving up from 9 to 8 for Gino, that is. Now, Kodey had this to say about Midland, who he has at 8 still. He said, golly, this really felt like the time to do it, to truly open up the KCAC, but Midland falls short, but close with Ottawa. I think that team know the Braves are beatable, but you still have to play well to finish the job. Yeah, no, absolutely agreed there. Here's my thing. I felt like they played well. I felt like the coaches were way too conservative. You should not be punting on 4th and 4 approaching midfield. There's no reason to do that. And they did it twice. And even when they passed midfield, they punted one time in the 3rd. And that drove me crazy. If you want to beat a contender, you got to take some risk for sure. And so we'll see. I like the team. I just think maybe there could be some better choices in the coaching staff. Now, I want to say almost everything here is the same. Let's go ahead and talk about Weber here, who stays at 7. Gino had this to say about Weber. Weber was seconds away from taking down St. Thomas and moving into the top 6, but they're going to have to put in the rankings this week after that tough loss. Stay put in the rankings this week after a tough loss. It's very exciting, though, that they showed that they can definitely compete with the top dogs in the country like that. Kodey had this to say about Weber. He said, for all of the roster turnover, this team had St. Thomas on the ropes, which made it extra weird that one of the vets of the squad had a hard time closing this game. Weber is still a dark horse that could really prove to be a thorn in someone's side should they make the Sun Conference tournament, and even more so at Nationals there, as he keeps them at 7. I have Weber at 6 still here. Yeah, that's a tough one, to lose if you're them. That was a really good chance for them to move up in the rankings. And on top of that, just watching that game, they had it. They had him. It was just some unlucky plays, an out of position play on defense, a really bad rushed pick 6 on offense, and it was over, right? And even then, they still had a chance to get in there and potentially tie it too, I think. So if you're Weber, at least that you can look within yourself and that you could go farther than what some people may think, and you should feel happy about that. Obviously, this was a tough loss, but it's fixable. If you're other teams, you got to keep an eye on Weber if you're not already, right? And they're a fine program. They're very well coached and whatnot, but you really do got to keep an eye on them because they're going to upset somebody when the time comes. So there you go. Now, at 6 is Ottawa, who drops out of the top 5 for the first time ever. They dropped from 5 to 6 in our power rankings. Gino had this to say about Ottawa. He said, ouch. Ottawa suffered their first loss to Kansas Wesleyan in program history and have now lost to all 5 teams in front of them this year. The KCAC is no longer theirs either, as K-Dub now has sole possession of the 1 seed in the conference. I don't think it's sole possession just yet, but they're in control for sure. Kodey had this to say about Ottawa. He said, after losing the first ever game against a KCAC opponent, Ottawa almost tried to lose to Midland, but held strong and did not skid, holding firm this number 6 spot. Yeah, as far as Ottawa goes, I think I said this in one of the recaps. I'm just going to say it again here. They could lose as many games as possible, maybe even the rest of the games this season, and I would probably still not count them out from being in contention. And I know it doesn't look good with all the losses and whatnot. It doesn't look good, but eventually something has to click, right? And they got to realize, hey, we don't want to be one and done in the national tournament, or not even, that's not possible, but we don't want to go out on day 2 or whatever short of the national championship, and they'll figure it out. Now, for now, they do look really vulnerable, I'm not going to lie. They gave it their all against KW, and they lost. And they probably could have lost by more. KW, they missed a lot of points, to be honest. And then they almost lost to Midland, but Midland's coaching staff, thankfully, was a little bit more conservative, and that's where some of that experience as far as coaching kicks in there. And so for Ottawa, I'm just going to be honest. The least we could do for Ottawa after them winning the first 3 national championships ever and, running this conference and whatnot is give them the benefit of the doubt. So I will, until, they get eliminated and their season's done for sure. I think you can't count them out. But as far as rankings go, they deserve the 6th spot. Plain and simple. Now, the team that moves ahead of them into the top 5 for the first time ever is Kansas Wesleyan. Gino said this about KWU. Chihiro Wada is the truth, and that's all there is to it. She wills the Coyotes to their first win over the reigning national champs in program history with her expert ball placement, poise, and beautiful mechanics. Kodey had this to say about KWU. He said, is the KCAC wide open? I'm not 100% sure, but anything seems possible after Awada's surgeon-like work on the Braves and K-Dub's first ever dub over Ottawa. And yeah, I definitely gotta agree there. She played extremely good football. Kansas Wesleyan is a contender. Don't get it twisted. They haven't played like any other contenders, I guess, out of Ottawa. But this is a team that you really gotta look out for as well. So there you go. There, that is KWU. Now at 4 is St. Thomas, who stays here at 4. Gino's have this to say. St. Thomas was seconds away from falling out of the top 4, but they somehow managed to get the win. Their defense allowed more than 12 points for the first time this year, as Weber showed that the Bobcats defense isn't indestructible after all. Kodey had this to say about STU. Defense wins championships and close games. The Bobcats defense took 2 picks and turned them into points to both take the lead and put the game away. They fought until the end, and that's what makes them dangerous. And yeah, I kept St. Thomas here. Look, almost got upset, but their defense wants more carries. They got to get clicking here on offense eventually. It's a bunch of vets over there. Got to figure it out. If not, then it's really going to bite them at the wrong moment. So there you go. At 3 is Thomas, who I believe stays right here at 3. Gino does move Thomas up in his personal rankings, though. He said Thomas has moved into the top 3 after St. Thomas nearly lost to Weber. The only 2 losses are to teams in front of them, and have pretty much blown out everyone else, so it makes sense to finally slide them into my top 3 this week. Kodey didn't have anything to say, and I really don't have anything to say here. They continue to take care of business. Alex Wilson seems to be the QB1 over there, and there's no real, controversy. And I didn't think there was, but I think this week definitely confirmed it. So there you go. At 2 is Warner. Gino has said this: a 50-0 domination over Fort Lauderdale is enough to keep them at 2 in my power rankings. Kodey didn't say anything, and neither do I. That's pretty much expected. They should win there, though. And at number 1 still is Keiser. Gino had this to say: Keiser completely killed Florida Memorial to stay at the 1 spot. They have a huge game next week against St. Thomas that I will definitely be tuning into. Kodey did not say anything about Keiser, and I don't have too much more to say either. Keiser, they took care of business. We got some interesting fireworks next week, which we will see about then. But there you go there. Those are our power rankings. Once more, at 20, it's Bethel. 19, Graceland. Tied for 17 is Point and Cottey. 16, St. Mary. 15, Reinhardt. 14, Life. 13, Florida Memorial. 12, Southwestern. 11, Milligan. 10, Campbellsville. 9, Baker. 8, Midland. 7, Weber. 6, Ottawa. 5, Kansas Wesleyan. 3, St. Thomas. 4, St. Thomas. 3, Thomas. 2, Warner. And at number 1 is Keiser for the second week in a row here. So there you go there. Thank you so much for rocking with us. This was a long episode, so I don't expect anybody to have listened to the full thing, but we really appreciate it. If you want to show some love, go ahead and follow us, comment, whatever, at Playmakers Corner. And, stay tuned for more episodes, as we got a big one coming up this next week as we are approaching the end of the regular season, getting into some pretty interesting games still, though. But, that postseason, it's looming. And so until next time, we will catch you later.